good discussions for session 2, session 3. We thank everyone for the contribution that we received. I think they're driving us somewhere. Today we continue with session 4 this morning. And my colleague, Max Lewis, will continue to lead us in this session. Maxi?
Okay. Good morning. Moro. Good. So I hope that everybody had a good night's sleep. It does not look like it by the faces I'm seeing. Eh? Good. Good governors. Are we all good? We are good to go. So this morning, so the focus for this morning will be to discuss some of the issues that came up also yesterday. We packed them, and that is looking at natural resource utilization and tourism development. So we already had pockets of questions and discussions around this issue. So this morning, we are going to start with a presentation from my colleague, Richard, from the MFT. Can you please come up? So Richard is going to share on the hunting issues in terms of CBNRM. Thank you so much, Richard. Then, is Bennett around? Okay, he's still coming, but we'll start with Richard. And then, so we will follow exactly the same guidelines as yesterday. So we'll do the presentation. You are writing down your questions, okay? And then from there on, I will go again into the sections. Please remember, and I'll remind you again, that it's not just, we want to think ahead. Huh? We are not just here. We know some of the problems we already know, okay? We need to put on a head where we are going to say, what is the solution, or what is some of the opportunities that we see as we're going ahead. So, Richard, is your presentation on?
Thank you, Maxi. Before I start, I would just like to stick with the protocol that was already established yesterday and this morning. Good morning. My name is Richard Fryer. I'm from the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, under the Division Wildlife Support Services, responsible for conservation, hunting and human-wildlife conflict. So my topic this morning is to talk about conservation hunting in communal conservancies. Just a quick background. What is conservation hunting in conservancies? Hunting in communal conservancies is a sustainable practice that allows local communities to benefit from wildlife resources as these are self-governed entities that have obtained conditional rights to utilize wildlife within a self-defined area. These benefits that include revenue, meat, employment, training, social development, wildlife population control, problem animal control, funding for conservation and conservation programs. And finally, I just want to mention that, and this I've picked up from numerous hunting operators, and Namibia still today is regarded as a top hunting destination in both conservancies and on commercial land. I just want to quickly look at the past versus the present, where we are standing today. In 1998, we started with 4 conservancies, which is Salambala, Nyanyai, Kwarihuas, and Tora Conservancy. We started with hunting agreements there and hunting in these respective 4 conservancies. And today we potentially have 63 hunting agreements. In 1998, those 4 conservancies earned in a year 499,000, compared to 2024, which is now standing at 55 million. And then I just want to draw, because this will come back to what the Honourable Governor from Irongo mentioned, that if you look at hunting versus tourism, hunting earned from 2013 to 2024, 348 million, compared to joint venture tourism that earned 166 million. Now, my figures differ a little bit from other, but I managed to get hold of the latest trophy or wildlife utilization for 2024. So it might be a little bit different to what was mentioned yesterday in Mr. Kaure's presentation. So we're standing in now for just that period at 348 million. And then I just want to draw a comparison but this is only utilization. This is now the utilizations, trophy hunting, and the own use hunting. In the previous contracts from 23 to 24, the amount earned in conservancies was 128 million. Now, we've just started the new process with the new contracts, and we are already standing at 148 million. That's a difference of 19 million, which we above the previous contracts. And we still have 12 conservancies to go. And that is very encouraging from the ministry side to see these sort of figures. Meat benefits. Meat benefits from 20 to 22 was 346,594 kilograms. But one must also take into consideration that in 2020 and 21, there was limited hunting due to the COVID pandemic. And in 2023 to 25 was the previous contracts. We calculated it at 675,962 kilograms of meat that was hunted through trophy hunting or own use hunting that went to communal conservancies. Then here's just a little graph for information to show the wildlife utilization revenue. You will notice there in 2020 and 21, and that was due to the COVID. It dipped slightly, and then in 22, 23, 24, look how it shot up over there. So that's that 55 million that I spoke about in 2024. So it is quite a considerable increase. Okay, so our current status, quotas are valid from 2026 to 2028. We've already set these quotas, but I will go into detail about the quota setting process in the next slides. Out of the 87 conservancies that we have registered, 73 have a hunting quota. And this consists of a trophy quota only, a trophy combined with an own use quota, or just own use. Then all these hunting agreements expired. All the hunting agreements, the previous one expired at the end of 2025. We received notifications from conservancies to either tender or to renew. We received those to renew, and we received for that period, this was last year, 33 conservancies requested to go out on tender, and 29 requested to renew with their current operator. So that gives you a total of 62. In my first slide, I mentioned potentially 62 conservancies. To date, 50 conservancies, as we stand today, we've just concluded this process now. 50 conservancies have hunting agreements that have just started now for the period 26 to 28. The remaining 12 conservancies had these following challenges. 2 conservancies have a pending court case, which we could not conclude. 2 conservancies did not receive any tenders, and 2 conservancies, the operator withdrew at the last minute. The tender was awarded to, offer letter was sent to this operator, and we received notification that he's no longer interested due to reasons. So we received that and we informed the conservancies. Then 3 conservancies, we picked up that the tender procedures were not adhered to, and then 2 conservancies, the operator just never pitched up at the contract signing, and then in 1 conservancy the price negotiations just failed. So, but it's very interesting to note that those last 2 contract signing and price negotiations was the same operator. Then just quickly on the quota setting process, I'll go through it briefly. The quota setting process is coordinated by MEFT with support from from NACSO and members of the conservancies. Quotas are always issued on a 3-year cycle. That's why it's 26 to 28 now. And then we redo the quotas in 2028 again. Offtakes are determined on the best possible information available on specific species and populations, and these include the game counts, the fixed route patrols, and others as well. I'll mention them. Namibia obviously has to demonstrate a rigorous process when setting quotas for trophy hunting, because we need to scientifically justify such offtakes to avoid boycotts and imports. And for that reason, the Ministry has decided to adopt a scientific-based approach when setting quotas for game utilization in conservancies. Obviously, adaptive management also gets included during these quota setting periods, where the offtake is determined based on information that is gathered during the feedback loops and so forth. Structures and roles and the responsibility. We have a quota setting coordinating committee. And this is appointed by MEFT within the members of the from Directorates of Wildlife and National Parks, Scientific Services, and also the NACSO, specifically the Natural Resource Working Group. The quota committee is tasked to compile by consulting regions, conservancies, support organization, experts and partners as required that all information needed to inform these quota decisions. They also take the responsibility for developing scientifically and justified quotas of all identified species for trophy and other forms of wildlife use, which is your own use and things like that. Each task team is led by a member from the quota setting coordinating committee. For example, we have Mr. Uysep over here, which is responsible for the elephant, Piet Beitel for the wetland species, general game, I'm myself over there, the task team leader, and then for predators, also Mr. Uysep. These task team leaders advise on sustainable offtakes based on defined methodology and best information. As I mentioned, these game counts and fixed route patrols, recommended sustainable offtakes for each species and conservancy based on all information. So we use as much information as possible. However, and then we have a technical committee, which is the final process. The technical committee consists of people from the directors of Wildlife and National Parks and Scientific Services, and also Ms. Maxie here from NACSO. So that's where we do the final presentation. Just a quick on the new quota status. New quotas were concluded for as I said, for 26 to 28. Task teams submitted their recommendations. All regional MEFT, Conservancy and Technical Steering Committee consultations was concluded by November 2025. This was presented to the Honourable Minister and approved. All these quotas were sent to the conservancies in December 2025. We then advertised those 33 tenders, 33 on 18 December, and the closure was on the 9th of January. Out of the 33 conservancies that requested tendering, we received 144 tenders. For example, Balerwa received 23, Bamunu 16. So there's a massive interest in conservation hunting, especially in conservancies. All tenders were opened in January 2026. Just brought this sheet in over here. This is what a quota sheet looks like for conservancies once it's been signed off by the Honourable Minister, and then it goes to the Director, and this is what the conservancies receive. So they will have their species there. This is just an example of Vuparu that I put up here. This is the approved quota for 26-28, and there you've got your different utilization options. You've got a total, the allocation for, so if you look at buffalo, the total was 15, the trophy was 10, and then you've got your conservancy or own use allocation as well. And then there's the final allocation is towards the traditional authority. And you can see there the warthog, there was one given to the traditional authority, hippo one, and then elephant one. And I just want to mention that this is not decided by the ministry or the support NGOs. This is decided by the conservancy themselves. We give a total, and then the conservancy says, look, we're looking for so much on trophy, so much on own use, and so much on traditional authority. So that's just an example. Challenges with the quota setting. This is always a tricky one. It's the balance that you try to find during these consultations with scientifically justified quotas compared to the social benefits. People try to always bring in, the social benefits and social needs above the scientifically justified quotas. Then also a challenge, Namibia is a signatory towards CITES, and this is what we are allowed to export on the following species. So we get 250 leopard a year, we get 90 elephant a year, and then crocodile 25. Although leopard and elephant are not a big, we're happy with those figures, but I definitely think the ministry feels that we should approach CITES, and there are discussions underway to increase this crocodile quota. But this is for next year, when the next CITES conference in, so there will be a submission submitted for the increase on the crocodile. Quotas are requested. This is also a very tricky one. Quotas are requested on human-wildlife conflict incidences, which we do not consider in the quota setting process because it can be very dangerous. So we don't use human-wildlife conflict as a determining factor to set quotas. This is also very important. Some conservancies have no or very little monitoring systems, and we need to really improve on this. It's a difficult one, but there is support funding there for that, and we really need to improve on this one. Adherence to quota conditions is also a challenge, and here I'm specifically talking about, we're still finding the fact that collared animals are being shot. We had a case last year where research animals were shot, which is a no-go, except in the case of problem animals. Other things, quota conditions are these 5 key elements of the conservancies are not adhered to. Other things that we look at are the report packs that we mentioned in the quota conditions, is the report packs. We are still failing there. And support to the TA and human-wildlife conflict. We also, in the quota conditions, we request that a certain allocation of the funds, of the trophy hunting funds, go towards human-wildlife conflict as well, but that is not happening at this stage. Although, sorry, I apologize for that. There is certain conservancies that do that. I need to consult with my colleague Vilo, but I know like Nyai, for example, they are supporting it, human-wildlife conflict, through their own funds. Then again, reporting offtakes, and both parties are to blame, the conservancies and also the hunting operators. Drought, it plays a significant role when it comes to setting quotas. It's a challenge. There is a need for a coordinated effort to record legal, illegal, and problem animal offtakes, although the problem animal offtakes has improved immensely. That one is good. We're good to go there. But the legal and the illegal ones, we're not getting really proper feedback there. Then we're also battling with this additional quota requests in non-quota setting years. Conservancies will send us a letter requesting for more animals. Colleagues, once it's been signed off by the Honourable Minister, that is the quota. We cannot adjust then. And then there's also this request to shift between different utilization options, like wanting to move from trophy to own use and things like that. And we make it very clear that we do not entertain that, but we still get these requests. Then challenges with the tender process, adherence to tender conditions. There's a big headache. Inflated prices from operators. Operators, when they tender, they tend to overinflate these prices, and which is not doable at all and not reasonable. There's also this tendency to unrealistic offers for training, social development, and so forth. And then this one we picked up this year, but I'm sure it's happened in the past, is these discussions and leaking of sensitive information to other operators during the tender process. You will remember that in my previous slide, there were 3 conservancies that did not, sensitive information was leaked out, and this puts the whole tender process in jeopardy. Then challenges with conservation hunting and the contracts. 5 minutes. Increasing pressure against conservation hunting from the international community, the greenies and so forth, as we refer to them. Signing of agreements without consulting MEF. This has caused major problems. Conservancies still go and sign these agreements with operators, and and it causes a lot of problems. It normally ends up in court cases, these things. We must really, really try not to do this. Then there's also the unlawful hunting of trophy hunting in conservancies without the legal documentation. You need to qualify, you need to pass the theoretical exam to become a hunting guide, professional hunter, or bow hunter, or professional hunter big game. And some of we've picked it up, where people are hunting in conservancies and they don't even have a qualification. They're not even a hunting guide. And this, we need to address these legal requirements, not to address them, but conservancies, game guards need to really focus, to make sure that this person is a qualified big game PH. Because if something happens and a client gets injured or whatever, it's going to come back on the ministry. And if this person wasn't qualified, contract monitoring is a major headache still. We're not monitoring our contracts to ensure that the people are making their payments. Monetary value related to social benefits. This monetary value, I'd like to give an example over here. They will promise a vehicle to the value of 500,000, and then when you look again, there's this old 60,000 worth vehicle arriving in the conservancy. So that is a serious headache, but we have addressed these issues in the new contracts. The new contracts are a lot stronger, but I brought it in just for information. Exchange rate is still a headache. The exchange rate just confuses everybody. It confuses because operators use it to their advantage. You get this buying and selling rate, which they use as to manipulate it. The exchange rate, they also prolong the payment. When they see that the US is dropped, that's when they pay. And also, conservancies are also at threat when you're using a US dollar, because when the US dollar is up there, it's good, but when it drops, that's when the conservancy will lose out, but also the hunting operator. So we might have to look into things like, making this, in Namibian dollars. It's a suggestion, but this is for discussion. Contracts are awarded on a 3-year cycle. A 3-year cycle, I've been reported to me, there's not much investment you can do into a conservancy if you only get a contract for 3 years. So that we might be, have to be looking at 6-year contracts, which is, your investment in that conservancy will be better. This one, previous pricing and complaints. This one, you will all remember that last year the Parliamentary Steering Committee went up to the Zambezi and they interviewed a few conservancies, and the biggest complaints come from the conservancies about the low prices that the operators are paying. So what we decided to do this year is that we worked out an average price on species. And we said, and these average prices is not based on by us. We do not thumbsuck this information as a ministry. This is based on the offers that we've got reliable data from 2019 and what the operators. So we took an average price over the 6-year period, and then we said to them, look, for example, some operators would be offering 3,000 for a leopard, but we said, no, hang on, that's not the value of leopard, or average price. The average price is 6,500. So we put that cap there to stop this lowballing of conservancies on things like that. It was met with a lot of resistance, but once we explained it to the conservancies, were very happy to hear that. And the resistance came from the hunting operators, but once we explained it to them, they understood it. They said, this is not us, this is you. You are determining the prices. We're just using an average on that. So that's why you will see in that first presentation why we have climbed by 19 million compared to the previous contracts. And I'm suspecting, and please don't hold this against me, if we sign contracts with those other 12 conservancies, I think we're going to be 50 million. 50. That's just I'm just speculating at this side, so please don't hold it against me. All the next six, all these hunting agreements expire in 2028, and this is for discussion. Please, I'm not forcing this on anybody, but I think we must really explore the opportunity that everybody, there's no more renewals. Everything must go out on tender. And this is for our discussion today. This is what from the ministry side proposing. And we should also explore other opportunities like auctions and things like that. But I'm just mentioning it here, but there's still a lot of homework that needs to be done there on auctions. Adherence to hunting zones, own use products and legal requirements. Colleagues, we're finding that own use products are not allowed to be exported. But it's come to our attention that own use products are being, like specifically buffalo, are being hunted, and then these products find their way to Windhoek somehow. We don't know how, but it's happening. So, but there is a proper permitting system that is available for own use products. And the conservancies are really encouraged. I'm not going to go into detail on how it works because I'm under time constraints here, but please consult with us on that one and we can guide you on how to deal with your own use products. Then trophy quality is still and this is related to the previous point, because if we start shooting own use trophy animals, we're going to start affecting our trophy quality. So we really need to look into that. Sorry, I don't know if I've skipped a slide here. No. Then my last slide is just a few opportunities available. There is a need, a very, very good need to transform this hunting industry to Cape, to improve the inclusion of people. We need to really improve on this one. Last year we had an induction workshop where we invited all potential people interested in hunting. It was held last year in February. But we need to promote more of these induction workshops that can serve as a gateway for previously disadvantaged Namibians to enter the hunting industry by equipping them with the necessary knowledge, skills, and networks. And these should be structured around the following key pillars, which is the industry orientation, getting people to, and that's what we failed to do in our previous negotiation. We need to help people, show people how to enter this industry. We also need to up the skills development. We need to, business training we need to look at, legal and ethical frameworks, mentorship and networking, community-based conservation hunting concessions. This is like, introduction of how to enter that market of communal, to get a communal hunting conservancy. And then certification pathways is also very important, and that the ministry also does, how to become a qualified hunting guide. And then finally, I just want to discuss citizen hunts. I'm sure there are people in this room over here that would love to have the opportunity to go and shoot a buffalo, but these things cost a lot of price. It's a very costly thing. And we need to look into ways where we can adopt a citizen hunt approach, where normal Namibians can also have the opportunity to go and experience the hunt of a buffalo or even an elephant and things like that. So we really need to look at that. Then, thank you. I just want to, I've attached this photo over here. This was a photo that we took at Shea Shoshona. And if we talk about transformation of the hunting industry, this contract was actually signed with Mr. Ali Pinge. You can see him standing in the middle over there. So this is what we need to aim for in the future, more inclusion into the hunting industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Maybe you should not go, maybe take a seat there. So thank you, Richard. It is really very encouraging to see that even though as a country we are going through a lot of pressure in terms of conservation hunting and the hunting industry, I'm very encouraged to see that there's still an interest. When you were talking about the 26, 28 quotas, those numbers are very, very encouraging for me. The other one is also that the issue of inclusiveness has been an issue for I don't know how many years. And one thing that we have never really realized is that hunting is not just hunting. It's not picking up just a rifle and go and hunt. It's a business. So it's very complex. It's a business, and that inclusiveness need to include everything, including Namibians becoming serious hunters, but also at the same time running the business when it comes to hunting. So there's a lot of opportunities. That's what I see, and it was very encouraging. We want to see more allies being included in terms of running this business. So without further ado, can I ask Mr. Bennett, I think you are the next presenter, to come and share with us from the tourism side what is happening within the tourism side when it comes to CBNRM. Can we just give him a hand of applause while he's making his way to the podium? Okay. Moro.
Maxi? Thank you. Oh. Good morning. Sorry, I just pressed delete on something here by mistake. Okay. Thank you. Maxi, is this working? How can they help me?
That one to go forward.
Okay.
But you just got to point it down.
There.
That one to go back.
Okay. Yes, good morning once again. Morning, our honorable governors. Morning, ED, DEDs. Good morning, delegates. I'll be taking you through the presentation on the tourism joint ventures. And I want to refer a little bit back to yesterday when I was giving an update on where we are in terms of the tourism program. I was making inferences to the fact that tourism joint ventures bring about, give and take, 55–60% of the revenues to our communal conservancies. We have about 55–60 thereabouts, joint ventures all across the length and breadth of our country. The majority of these facilities are found in Kunene, particularly in Kunene South, Kunene North, as we refer to, also Erongo, and quite a number of them in the northeastern regions, most notably Zambezi, where we have quite a number of these joint venture operations. But Then we have a few in other places too. What is important here in terms of this presentation is to give you a sense of really taking off from the presentation of Richard that this is a business. As the tourism hunting outfitters, the trophy hunting is a business just like the joint ventures. With that, I'll be taking you through about 14 slides or so. And we'll be talking about some of the intricacies in the joint venture hunting, joint venture tourism, joint venture operations. The first thing to talk about, in as much as we are referring to the bill and the draft regulations, we are currently operating still on the conservancy legislation that I referred to yesterday. So don't worry too much about the references to the bill and the regulations in this presentation, because it's all the same, nothing has changed. Conservancies have exclusive tourism and hunting rights within their boundaries. These rights essentially are awarded in a collective manner. So they are given to the conservancy as an entity. And these rights are not given to individuals. The conservancy as a collective entity is the enterprise or the institution to whom these rights are awarded through the legislation. Joint ventures with conservancies are basically the main way to turn those rights that we spoke about, the devolved rights, into cash, into jobs, and into other incentives. Now, in as much as these rights are devolved and given to the conservancy, we know that we have this 28-year, 30-year history, and we've learned a lot of lessons during this process, and these are the lessons that I want to talk to you about. The declaration of the conservancy, I would not really go into a lot of those details. What is required is that the conservancy needs to have a constitution, a wildlife and utilization and management benefit distribution plan. They need to have all those things. The powers and the functions to manage and sustain the wildlife is embedded within the conservancy. The exclusive tourism and hunting rights, of course, as we said, I won't bore you with those details. They are also given to the conservancy. What is the role of the ministry in this whole process? Before any tourism JV partnership agreement is awarded, there needs to be a notification to the Honorable Minister. The conservancy must write to the Minister describing the nature of that very business proposal through a business plan, and who are the proposed partners. The Minister will then advise either by evaluating these against the Conservancy's mandate, the sustainable development, Conservancy objectives, and through this process there will be an engagement between the ministry, not just the minister, but the ministry and the Conservancy with its proposed development partners. If there is an agreement to proceed, the Conservancy will submit the proposed agreements for approval by the minister. The minister may then approve unless there is reason not to approve. this process is proven to be successful basically. This is just explaining the process of the approval. The submission must include a conservancy committee resolution confirming they review and accept the agreement. The minister must take into account the preference of the conservancy, even if the preferred partner may not be the highest bidder. Now, one needs to qualify some of these things, and I will come in the next slides why this is important. Basically, this is the crux of the matter. The partnerships that are arranged. We have 3 types of partnerships at the moment that we've been operating on. The first one is on your far left, where in this relationship, the operating agreement is held by the conservancy, where the conservancy is basically and this is the one that we really recommend, the one on the far left, where the conservancy grants the tourism rights to an operating company. Many of the JV agreements in this particular sense are held in this fashion, the one on the left-hand side. And the operator makes returns, in this case, the operator markets, runs the lodge, they raise the capital, and they carry the business risk. The conservancy provides the natural resources management services. They receive a performance-based fee, and in this case, that performance-based fee is negotiated, and there's a range, either between 6, 8, 10%, depending on the nature of the negotiations that has taken place. And by way of qualification, this works very well when expectations are met and the fees and the reporting requirements are very, very clear. As we said, many of our JV agreements are basically operating on this fashion, on the left-hand side. I will go through all 3 of them, and then I'll provide examples. The one in the middle, where we have a management agreement in place, is where the conservancy owns the business 100%. For those who are in the know, Grootberg Lodge is one such. We've operated Grootberg Lodge since, I think, the early 2000s to date. Kwadingwa's Conservancy owns the lodge and the business 100%, and they've gone into a fashion where they have brought on board a company called Jenny's Namibia, and Jenny's Namibia provides the management, engaging with the markets, and they bring the professionalism in terms of the running of the lodge itself. What is in it for the conservancy? They provide the natural resources management, making sure that the wildlife is taken care of, there is waters, there is no inclusion or intrusion into the core wildlife areas and so on. The conservancy receives a profit and lease fee, raises the capital, and carries the business risk. I think that speaks for itself, that in this instance, where the conservancy is effectively and essentially the owner of that business, that means if a pool has a hole in it, if the roof is leaking, the conservancy must make sure that that is fixed. If there is no operating capital, they must go to the bank and they have to take out a loan for them to fix that roof or the pool or whatever upgrades needs to be done. These agreements are very strong. They need strong community governance, but they also need the capacity in terms of the finances that I was talking about earlier. Then on the far right, you have the shareholding agreement. We have one such that comes to my mind, and that is the case of Doro Navas. Again, we've run this type of operation now probably for the next 20, 25 years in terms of that JV. The Conservancy holds minority equity in the operating company. It can be 10%, can be 15%, can be 20% or so. This can be combined with an operating agreement, how the business actually works. And the Conservancy provides, again, as in the earlier cases, they provide the natural resources management side of things. They receive dividends and fees. They also face that exposure in terms of business risk. As an equity holder in a business where you hold shares, if there are profits, you benefit through a dividend. But in cases where things are not going all right, and what comes to my mind is COVID in 2020 onwards, where there was no tourism, no arrivals of tourists in our country, you still have the employees to be paid. You still have the business infrastructure that needed to be taken care of, and somebody needed to go to the bank. And what happened in those cases? We had to run around to external partners, development partners, to ask for a bailout. And we received some money, and we had to effectively pay the salaries of employees. We had to assist to ensure that those businesses don't come to a complete closure when tourism arrives. In these cases, conservancies must have the capacity to act as a shareholder. Now, I want to bring all these three together. And this is where it really becomes very, very, very tactful and strategic. We've said the ministry, in terms of the advice together with our field-based partners, we prefer that the conservancy takes on what is in bold. Basically, where the conservancy is given the rights, they then go into a sublease agreement with an operator that is experienced, an operator that has access to markets, an operator that is able to take on the business risk of going to the bank. And in return, the conservancy will receive a particular negotiated revenue, and that revenue gets plowed into the conservancy coffers, and the conservancy can continue doing what it ought to be doing, which is providing a service to the members. The one in the middle is talking to the case of Grootberg, and I've said in the first one, many of our joint ventures are basically running on the left-hand side. The one in the middle is an exceptional case that we all have learned a lot of valuable lessons from. I don't want to speak on behalf of Kwadinghuas. The conservancy owners are here. They can talk to their own examples. But really what we have learned and what is coming to the front is that there are a lot of inherent risks when you are the owner of a lodge. Kwadi runs Grootberg, they run Hobatere, they run Huada as owners of this infrastructure. when things got tough, Janice Namibia went to Kwadi and said, colleagues, we have employees to pay. Our infrastructure is not in good shape. What do we do? Kwadi had to go out and they had to go and get a loan. Soft loan, but they had to go and get and obtain a loan for them to run this enterprise. On the far right, we are speaking to the shareholding agreements, and I've given you one example. Toro Navas is in the house, they can speak to this case themselves, where you are basically a minority shareholder in this business enterprise. I will leave the discussion to the House and the representatives from those communal conservancies to really speak to their own examples. We've heard yesterday from the front table that the revenues or the returns are not enough. We need to increase those returns. The issue is, how can we increase those returns? And I think this is where the value judgment sits. And these are the discussions that we should have. After 30 years of running these joint venture operations, is there an opportunity for a business that has been running and it has attained a lot of goodwill over the last 20, 30 years, for us to increase the percentage revenues from 8% or 10% to 12%, from 12% to 14%? I think that is where the value judgment lies. But these are deep technical business discussions that needs to be held. Another element, and I'll step away momentarily from this one. I really do not want to bore you too much with the tendering and the direct awards. We can discuss those aspects since time is not on our side. And I want to speak to some of the non-negotiables in these arrangements. The contract can only be held with a conservancy. It is very difficult, and we have learned experiences both in Kunene and in the northeastern parts of our country where we have a lot of these JVs, where you have individuals who have the leasehold right. And I'm not really talking just to the previously disadvantaged individuals who are sitting with these leaseholds. You also have the old type of JV operators. You will have a wilderness safari that is also sitting on a leasehold. You have other examples of such a nature. I think as a ministry, what we want to propose and advance is the interest of the entity called the Communal Conservancy, for them to be in the driver's seat. If they can receive the leasehold, if there is an individual within that community residing there, originally from there, and he or she is sitting with a leasehold, he or she must at least have an agreement with the conservancy for revenue sharing and all of that. Equally so, when we have another entity, and we can give you many examples over the years, deep in Kunene, where there are entities that are international companies that are having and sitting on leaseholds. Question is it right? Is it fair? I don't know. But they are sitting with these leaseholds. So in those cases, we need them to have an agreement with the Conservancy as an institution. And this is the key message that I really want to leave you with. The rest of it, writing proposals, documents, criteria, committee resolutions, and all of that are really just part of the processes that we are advancing as a ministry. There has been a question around the length of the JV. Give and take, most of our JVs are around 20 to 25 years. And there is a rationale linked to the business why these JV agreements are of that length of tenure. Some of the reasons are the payback, capital payback period for the investor to recoup whatever they have put into the business. There has been a review of points built in, the adjustment of rates, the labor obligations, environmental commitments, and all of that. There is the fee structure, and these are all key terms of these agreements. Then there is the benchmark, the big elephant in the room. There has always been questions, but why should it be 6%? Why not 8%? Why not 10%? Why not 20%? Between the investment that is made, the capital that is required to operate and run this business, the revenues that remain to be repatriated either to the conservancy through a fee, but also for the investor to recoup some of their invested capital. We have come to a range, and we can discuss in detail those technical aspects because they really are linked to the business. But the range is generally between 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12% of revenues to be part of the fees that are given to the communal conservancies. Then there are other issues that are part of these agreements, such as VAT, taxes, insurances, and all of that.
5 minutes.
Yeah. I think I've spoken to the lease hold, who should hold it, and those aspects, those I've spoken to. Then there are the roles of key stakeholders in these arrangements. And those are the role players. Basically, it's the conservancy committees, the AGMs, the land board, our support-based partners, and all of that. Then basically, this is just a toolkit that goes step by step how these operations or how these JV arrangements are put in place. I really want to just spend the last few minutes speaking or talking to some of the emerging issues within these JV arrangements. There has been this thorn in the flesh. An operator runs a tourism establishment for 10 years, maybe 18 years, maybe 17 years. They have gained whatever they have gained out of the business, and for whatever reason, operator A sells on the business to operator B. The ministry and our partners, we just hear through newspaper articles and through the grapevine, the business has been sold. Then we ask ourselves, but is there no role for the ministry to play in these instances? Is there no role for the conservancy to be consulted on the incumbent? For how much is this business sold? Does the conservancy have a say to say, no, but we want you to bring 2 more operators, then we go through a process of selection? Who says you, who the seller is, you have the rights to bring operator B? These are questions that we are sitting with as a ministry and as partners. We don't have an answer to them, But these are key issues that we need to discuss. Then the second issue, about a year ago, we have been approached by the Namibia Competitions Commission. And they have picked on 3 key clauses in the Competitions Act. And I've stated them, they are the ones that are there. 3.3.1.2, 3.3.1.4, and 3.3.1.5. Essentially, all they are saying is that the JV template that we've been using for the past 20-something years has clauses that are in contravention of the Namibia Competitions Act. I won't bore you with the technical details, but all they are saying basically is the ministry has given too much authority by subleasing, by the Conservancy basically subleasing the business over to operator X. That operator has too much power and control over who can enter and who may not enter the business in that conservancy. And that's a major issue. That's number one. Number two, they've basically said, ministry, if you are not able to be the competent authority in this particular instance, basically telling the ministry that in such cases, if a conservancy is approached by an operator who wants to enter into a tourism JV arrangement, they should come to the conservancy and say, we've identified there's a nice spot there within the general area of wildlife and tourism in the conservancy, and we want to put up a lodge. At the moment, the conservancy goes to the incumbent operator, and they say, we've been approached by company Y, and they want to set up a tourism establishment. What do you think? It's inherently so that the current or incumbent operator will say, hell no, we don't want competition. We are here, we are in an exclusive arrangement with you, that company is not welcome. So this is the assertion and the standing point from the Namibia Competitions Commission, and they're saying, ministry, it's either you are the competent authority to whom the conservancy has to go and say, we have been approached, here is a business proposal, here is the figures, here is what have you. Is there a way that we can assess this opportunity in a competent way? And once we have come to that decision, we can consult with the incumbent operator. But that incumbent operator does not have to have the veto right to say that company should not establish a tourism joint venture lodge. This is the assertion from the Competitions Commission. We have been at it. There are 3 particular joint ventures that I will not name, but essentially we have said we are not going to fight you, Competitions Commission. We agree with you, but there is a lot at stake. There's about 50 to 60 joint venture lodges, all running at different stages. They have investments, there are many investments that are at stake. We don't want at this point to say we are going to renegotiate all those 56 joint ventures. And so we have written to the Competitions Commission and we've said, please for now, exempt us until any of the joint ventures come to a close, the agreement comes to an end, then we will renegotiate the terms in order to ensure that these clauses that are anti-competitive are basically adjusted, and there are propositions and there's written language that they have proposed to us how we can adjust these templates, and this is what we are in agreement with. So for now, we have sought exemption from the Namibia Competitions Commission on all of these JVs. We are still awaiting feedback from them. However, at such a time that any of the current JVs come to an end, we are appealing, and this is why we are bringing it to this house, that we want to go and discuss the templates, because the templates come from us as a ministry, where all these clauses are. We want to agree with the sector through a consultative discussion or consultation how we can change these clauses for the new joint venture agreements going into the future. So essentially, without really going into too much detail, this is where we are at, and those two are key issues in the discussions that we are having generally around the joint ventures. So that's what I had to present this morning, but we'll await then any discussion and questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Director. I think it gives us an overview in terms of, the businesses within CBNRM, that they are not very, it's very complex. It's very complex. So I just wanted to do something quickly while we await. I want to call on the next presenter, Ellie. Are you ready? So while Ellie is making, can we give her an applause while she makes her way to the podium? While she's doing that, can I just ask if those ones that are able just to stand up a bit and just stretch a little bit? Just stand up a little bit. Sitting is not very good for you. Yeah? So you need to move. Movements are really, really important. Let the blood flow. John, you should move. You okay? Who was operating it? Bennett. You were operating it.
How?
Basically, this one to back, that one to going forward.
But it's not
They have to
moving.
first put, no, they first
Oh,
have
they
to put your
have to
slide.
put my slide first. Oh, okay. Are we ready? You said people must walk out on me. That's right. Good morning, honorable governors present here today, community leaders, and to my fellow delegates. I've been introduced by Maxi as Ellie, but I need to introduce myself properly so that I'll be able to go home by the end of the day. My name is Ellie Hamunyela Ndokosho. So I need to emphasize Ndokosho because then I'll be able to go home at the end of this session. Okay, I'm a director for scientific services in the Ministry of Environment, Forestry, and Tourism. And today, I'm going to give you information on management of tourism concessions. In fact, the correct title should be Management of Tourism and Wildlife Concessions in protected areas and also on state land. That should be the correct heading, but we can do with what we have. Let me just have all the points on before I start talking. My presentation is formatted in such a way that it will stimulate discussions, because I want us to discuss and I want us to agree on some tangible recommendations at the end of my presentation. And therefore, the way I've outlined my presentation will start with a legal and policy framework. Just allow me to go through that with you. I'm basically just going to go through the evolution of all the legal and policy framework we have developed to implement and manage concessions. And then I'll give you a snapshot of concessions awarded to conservancies and associations, and I'll also give you information on concessions which are not involving communities in their management. These are contracts between the ministry and the investors, but there are some communities who have been identified to benefit directly from those concessions. And then we'll go to challenges and recommendations. I have one slide on that. The reason why I have challenges and recommendations together, I want to link our proposed recommendations to the challenges we are facing. And I'm sure there will be other challenges in the implementation of concessions and management of concessions, which I'll not highlight today, but of course, I'm expecting also some of these to come out of the audience. Then I have conclusions, but I have question marks there. I'll explain why I have those 3 question marks there when I get to that slide. The legal framework, as I said, we are going to start with that. Before 2007, in fact, even before independence, the government as I said, before independence and also after independence, but that period before 2007, the government authorized other parties to conduct businesses in protected area as well as on other state lands, These state lands, just for me to be clear from the beginning, they include Hobatere, Etendeka, and Palambach. Those are the 3 state lands. And maybe from the beginning, I must say that I'm really happy that I'm giving this presentation after my colleague, Mr. Kahure, has given a presentation on joint ventures. Because there's always that confusion, between joint ventures and concessions. And I think he made it very clear that joint ventures are only applicable on communal land, on the land where the conservancies are operating. And then concessions are limited to protected areas as well as state lands, the 3 state lands I've mentioned. The permission which was given to other parties, they were given in terms of Section 17 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance 4 of 1975, specifically in subsection 2, paragraph D to H, for those parties to provide accommodation, meals, refreshment, and also to conduct any business and trade and services for the conveniences of our visitors to our protected areas and those other 3 state lands I've talked about. Also, permission was also given to some parties to construct structures so that they can, attain those trade and services to our visitors. But then, even with those legal powers, which were invested before cabinet and after independence in the minister responsible for parks, we still lacked guiding principles and guidelines. It was very difficult because that is, those provisions in subpara 2 of section, not subpara 2, but the subsection 2 of section 17, that was the only, guiding principle the minister or cabinet before independence could work with, which was difficult because there were different types of concessions, which were awarded, but there was no uniformity, even in the contract, and there were a lot of inconsistencies, and the contracts were also very, very weak. And also, one of the shortcomings of that legal provision was that communities who are living with these wild animals, who are bearing the brand of living with them, who are experiencing human-wildlife conflict on their daily basis, were not recognized as primary beneficiaries. So we had to move away from that because it was fatal. It was fatal to our conservation model because our conservation model is built around our local communities who are residing within our protected areas and also who are neighboring our protected areas. Technology is challenging me. I actually wanted to go to the second slide. Is it possible for you to put that on? Or is that the second one? Huh? It's stuck. Where? Can you come and assist? Yeah. There it is now. Yeah. We're there. I just want to have all the points there before we go to that slide. Okay. Then in 2007, we realized that in the absence of the guiding documents, we should come up with a national policy. And this policy was adopted in 2007. It's a national policy on tourism and wildlife concessions on state land of 2007. The aim of the policy is there. It's to regulate commercial use of natural resources in protected areas and state land, to promote conservation, generation of revenue for national parks, and to ensure benefits of local communities and economic empowerment of previously disadvantaged Namibians, and I was actually supposed to underline that, while ensuring sustainable park management for the present and the future generation. We know already what our Constitution says. That policy is very comprehensive. I'm sure most of us here have read the policy. Last month, and I think in February, we held some consultations because we are in the process now of reviewing this policy, and that's why I'm confident that most of us here, you have gone through that policy, because we have also received some very good comments and recommendations in the review of that, towards the review of that policy. The policy lists all the concessions, the type of concessions which should be awarded. First one I've listed there is the lodges and campsite concessions. They are actually, the validity is in line with what my colleague there said, and with the joint ventures. Some of them are valid for 20 years, but the latest ones are valid for 25 years. Then we have activity-based concessions, valid between 10 and 12 years. These are, for example, your 4x4s, the balloon concessions, and the likes. But also in this category, we have traversing rights. And these traversing rights are valid for 25 years, unlike other activity-based concessions. And I'll explain why. The reason is because these traversing rights are actually awarded directly to our communities living in protected areas or neighboring our protected areas. The minister has awarded them directly. Reason why they are 25 years, it's because they are linked to their lodges, the JV lodges, which my colleague, Mr. Kahure, just explained. They are linked to that. And those JV lodges, normally they are valid for a period of 25 years. That is why the 25 years. And the reason why they are given is to make their packages attractive. And it's working in some cases. We also have trophy hunting concessions. Trophy hunting concessions are normally valid for a maximum period of 5 years. And why 5 years? It's because we weigh the investment. The investment you put in trophy hunting business is not comparable to what you put in your lodge. So that is why that difference. The policy also talks about concessions to utilize plant materials. We have not, the minister has not awarded any of such concession yet, but maybe in future. But those who have attended the concession policy review consultations, we actually were saying maybe we should even remove that from the policy. It's something we are pondering on. Still continuing on the national policy. The national policy also clearly stipulates the functions of the concession committee, The work of that committee is basically to advise the minister in the identification, awarding, and monitoring of concessions. And also, the concession unit is also mentioned in that policy, and the concession unit just play an overall secretariat role. That's what it does. The policy also goes into the procurement of, investors. It goes in there. It talks about direct awards, and it also talks about the tender and auction, tender and also auctions. To protect the communities, the policy also has given a definition on the community structures to be considered when the minister is awarding these concessions. There are a lot of aspects, as I said, it's a very comprehensive policy. There are a lot of aspects included in there. There's also a guideline there on how to write concession proposals. And I'm standing here and I can confidently say that this policy is maybe one of the most ministry, not only by us who are implementing it, but also just by the public, because we get so many questions from the members of the public who would like to learn more about concessions, especially from previously disadvantaged Namibians who wants to enter the tourism business. And that's a very good sign. We get so much of queries on that. As we all know, the policy is just a guiding document. It's not a law. And therefore, if we take into court with a policy only, you'll struggle. So because of that, we then used our policy to amend Section 17 of the Nature Conservation Ordinance. And that was in 2017. We have introduced the powers of the minister to grant tourism and wildlife concessions related to sustainable use of wildlife resources, as well as tourism-related services in our protected areas and state land. And the policy, as I said, these amendments, as I said, are in line with the policy, and those, those powers, they actually include granting of all those concessions, like lodges, activity-based tourism, trophy hunting, and use of plant material. It's all included there. Section 17, subsection 5, paragraph A to G of the ordinance has stipulated the objectives of granting concessions. So when the minister is considering granting concessions, she has to consider these objectives to make sure that whatever she grants as concession rights, they are in line with the objectives as stipulated in the law. They're listed there. The first one is the maintenance of the ecological integrity of our protected areas and also effective management of our protected areas. That is very important. As I said, we are not only managing these parks for us, for the current generation, but we also have to look at the future generation. So it's very important that when the minister is granting concessions, he should consider the maintenance of the ecological integrity and the effectiveness of the management of our protected areas. But then, we cannot just have these protected areas just to maintain the ecological integrity. We have to make them also, the economy, to also make them to contribute to the economy of the country and also, regional and local economies. And this is why the minister has also to consider in granting these concessions that the protected areas are contributing and they are enhancing the role in sustainable and responsible tourism, and also it will also diversify tourism products. That's very important. But then for me, the last two objectives are actually the most important ones also. Apart from the maintenance of this ecological integrity, Minister also has to ensure that concessions which are granted are going to benefit the rural communities and also to empower previously disadvantaged Namibians. Those concessions must also generate revenue for employment creation, conservation, and poverty reduction. They must contribute to that as well. 5 minutes left. Is that so? Okay, fine. Okay, let me run through quickly. The way concessions must be granted are also prescribed in the law. And maybe I can skip some of these things. The concession committee I've already touched on when I was talking about the policy. There we have just indicated that currently the concession committee, we have got the ministry as a member, NACSO, NTB, Ministry of Justice, and Ministry of, what's this, Rural Development, and yeah, that one. Okay, coming quickly to the concessions which the minister has awarded so far to the communities. Those are, I've just categorized them per region. These are the concessions which the minister has directly awarded to conservancies and associations. And we know when we are talking about associations, we know the 4 associations we're talking about. So I'm not going to go into that. So they are awarded to 4 associations and 29 conservancies altogether. Karas, the numbers are there. I don't think I need to go through that. But maybe what I can highlight here is that you can see that the number of awarded concessions are higher compared to the operational ones. When we are saying the operational ones, those are the ones which have been implemented. The concession project has been implemented. They've created employment. There are investors there. And on top of that, they are also benefiting the communities, the member of those conservancies and associations. These are concessions which have been awarded. There are no communities involved. That's why they are said no head concession contracts. These are concessions which have been awarded, and there's a contract between the minister, or the ministry rather, and the investors. But there are communities who are benefiting. Am I not even there? Yeah, it's that one. Sorry, Maxi has confused me. So this is the table I wanted to show you. That's a table I've explained already, that, you know, per region, we have 1 in Hartap, 5 in Erongo, 1 in Kavango West, 1 in Kavango East, 1 in Zambezi. In total, we have 9 concessions where communities are benefiting directly from concession fees, although they are not involved in the management, they are not involved in any of the contracts which are in place. Challenges and recommendations, to me it's a very important slide, and that's why I rushed through the other ones so that we can spend more time on this. There are a lot of challenges, of course. It's a very good program, but there are a lot of challenges. You know, concessions, the implementations of concessions are monitored through joint management committee meetings. But at times, it's very difficult for us to have those joint management committee meetings due to unavailability of either the officials from the ministry or when maybe we are available, then the concessions or the association management committees are not available. We always have our colleagues on the ground, the regional office staff, and they are always willing to attend those JMC meetings, but availability sometimes is an issue. So I'm recommending there that maybe what we should do is every year we need to plan at the beginning of the year, and then we already have the schedule of our meetings. Maybe that will help us so that we can just commit all to those schedules. As we have seen from the table I've shown you there are a lot of concessions which are not operational. And they are not operational because of different reasons. Some are not operational because they do not have investors. Some are newly signed concessions. Like, for example, in the case of ours, those are new concessions. Of course, we are anticipating that before the end of the year, we should be up and running with those concessions. We have concessions which are not viable. And I think we need to relook at some of those concessions and maybe cancel them or replace them, because they are just listed as awarded concessions, but we know that they will never contribute to the benefit. They will never benefit the communities, and therefore maybe we need to replace them or just cancel them. But also, when we are also awarding concessions, we actually also have to make sure that we remain, the minister only awards concessions which are in line with the management plans. So when we are telling conservancies or associations that no, the concession you are eyeing or the concession you would like to have, it's not in line with the management plan, we're just not saying it because we do not want, we are saying it because this is actually part of the law. Because the minister is only allowed to award concessions which are in line with the management plan of the specific park. Okay, we also have a challenge of capacity building. You know, the aim of giving concessions to communities is that after the initial period of the head concession contract, the initial period of 25 years, it's our sincere hope that those communities should be able to run with those concessions without an involvement of a third party. That is what we wish for. That is what we want. But then, at the moment, we are seeing that some of the contracts are coming to an end. But also, we can also see that the conservancies and the associations are not ready. And this will force, again, the communities to again go into contracts with the third parties to implement their concessions. But Kwadi is here, right? I think I must upload Kwadi. Kwadi, okay. Kwadi entered into a head concession contract with the ministry in 2010. In 2014, I think if I'm not mistaken, Kwadi contracted Jenny's Namibia as a management company to run the operation of the lodge. Kwadi inherited that lodge in a very bad state in 2010 when they took over. The main area, for example, had burned down. Kwadi made sure that without a third-party involvement, they obtained grants and they also got loans to renovate that lodge. And they did it successfully. That is why when Jenny's Namibia came in, Jenny's Namibia only came in to operate just as a management company. And now, Kwadi's contract is about to lapse with the ministry. We have now renewed it for another 25 years, and Kwadi has just informed us that, look, we are not going to get a third party any longer, even to operate or manage this concession. That is all but they remain. We are going to do it ourselves. So we must really clap for Kwadi. And that's where we want to get. This is why here I'm recommending that maybe we should develop a targeted program to make sure that at the end of the 25-year period, the concessions are capacitated to take over the operations of their lodges. And then we also have an issue of communities, conservancies, associations who do not want to go through the tender process to procure the investor. I just want to make it very clear here. It's not because we are just trying to be difficult as a concession unit. We are doing this because it's in the law. The law is very clear. We should be open and transparent. That is the reason why we have this clause in the contract, in the head concession contract between us and the communities. We need to abide by that. And then this was discussed yesterday. It brought a lot of emotions in the room yesterday. The benefits are not visible. In some cases, we are not seeing any improvement. Community members are complaining that they are not getting any benefits from the concessions, although we know that there is money coming from these concessions. I'm saying some, I'm not saying all, but this is a concern. And I think it was in 2024 or 2023, Minister Shifeta actually issued a directive asking all the conservancies and associations with concessions to make sure that 50% of the income should be invested in community development programs identified during your AGMs by your members. I think we need to implement that. We actually also had a discussion on that when we were reviewing the policy, but I think it's very important that we go back to that, because we cannot, it's unfair for the people on the ground, your community members, to keep saying they are not seeing tangible benefits. Okay, then the issue of reporting. We are not receiving reports and reports from investors and communities. In some cases we get them, but we have to struggle to get those. And we therefore think maybe it's high time that we introduce penalties if people are not reporting back, if parties are not reporting back. Okay, poor employment conditions in some of the concessions, that's also an issue. Sometimes we get complaints that some of our investors are not treating people well. So that is also something we need to look at together. That's the ministry and the communities. Maybe we need to identify, of course, we can also just like complaining, even if there's nothing there, but let's investigate and see. Maybe there are really some poor employment conditions which we need to look at and act on them. And then there's also an issue of community trust. Ours was also a community trust. I think you'll understand what I'll be saying. Community trust, we have, in the past, some concessions were awarded to community trust. And we know the structures of the trust in Namibia. The trustees are the beneficiaries. We know that. And the trustees are only answerable to the master of the higher court. So it's very difficult, even for us as the ministry, even for some of the community members, to intervene and say we are not getting anything because, you know, it's difficult because of the structure of the trust. That is why House has agreed to move from a trust to an association, and we really thank House for their cooperation on that issue. But then, maybe we also need to change the law. In our law, maybe we should say the minister is only allowed to award direct concessions to associations and conservancies. Because in most cases, the associations and conservancies, their members are the ones who are suffering from living with these animals. Maybe that's what we should do, just to prevent, you know, the trust, because we still are receiving applications from the trust, and some trust who wants to, you know, implement concessions. Yes, I'm finishing. I'm done, actually. I'm actually done. There are question marks there. And the reason why I put question marks there is because I don't want to do it the conventional way. It's unconventional. I don't want to conclude on this. I've just given you information. We need to discuss and jointly conclude on this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good. You want your phone back? So thank you so much. Francis, can you just hold on? What I'm going to do is that since these three presentations are very closely related and integrated, I will allow for a discussion first and questions like we did yesterday. And then we have a break for just 10 minutes. And then we'll come back and do the other two presentations. With your permission, can I go ahead and do so? Thank you. So, thank you so much, Ellie. Concessions are really important to this country. And I always say we have a very liberal government, because my experience also traveling in the region, I have seen so many countries. I have gone through them. This concession policy is something that is very unique to Namibia. There is other concessions in other countries, but the fact that we have something like that allows communities to have benefits, especially our communities that live in rural areas, for me, that is something that is very commendable. So let's start. My guidelines is that we are going to go section, for those ones that were not here yesterday, I go section by section by section. And so the governors are allowed to be the last ones to give their comments. So if I'm in this section and there is a governor, I will allow the communities and everybody, the participants in this section, to say their say, and then the governor in that row will then have a chance to make their comments. So this, today I'm going to start with this section. So by a show of hands, let's see, can you just show your hands how many people are going to have? Okay. Okay. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands. Huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands. I see an 8th hand. People, when I say leave your hand, don't go like, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hands. 8 hands, that's what I saw. So let's do this. Do not repeat the questions. Keep to one question and one comment. I'll cut you off if you go to a second question. And don't sneak in. I've seen yesterday, especially this group, you are sneaking in things. I'll stop you. Let's start in front here. Can we please get the microphone to the second row? That's where I saw the hand. And can I ask my colleagues to take notes while people are? And you are standing between you and the tea break. It's not me. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. Hey, where's the... Hilde, in front here. There's a microphone needed. Also, just your name and your affiliation will be quite... Yeah.
Hello. Today, I'm not going to introduce myself. I will just say that I'm from Zambezi region, the manager for Mayuni Conservancy. I think my question maybe is like, it's based on what Mr. Flyer has already presented when he was saying on behalf of how the community decides on the prices for the animal on the quota. So it's where I got the last presenter yesterday, Monica Shikongo. He also presented on corridors for the elephant moving country to country. So my question is, why is conservancies having different prices on elephant trophies? In short, okay. Thank you.
Elephant trophies, why is there different prices? Is it within the country or from country to country? All conservancies, okay, good. Sir?
Okay, thank you for the floor again. I'm Stephen Muyangwa, the manager for Sukunga Conservancy in the Zambezi region. My question, for me it's not a question, it's a recommendation from the presentation of with Richard. Regarding the prices, that was our concern. I think that one, we really appreciate it was addressed, the prices. Thank you. And then coming to that, the guarantee payment, that's where we are struggling. The guarantee payment are paid in installment. Are paid installment. So it is not possible again, so that the guarantee payment can be paid upfront. So it's easy for us to handle that 50% policy. Because if it's paying installment, you find that it might be give you 200,000, 100,000 for a quarter. So it's not easy for us to handle that one when it comes to 50% policy. Okay. So please, because we are copying that from Botswana. So can you handle that one the way you handled the prices?
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. So the guarantee payment, can that be done in full and not in installment? Yes, thank you. Next. Oh, There's one here before we go to that one. Like the gentleman over there. Ah, thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Hannes du Plessis, and I'm representing NAFA, the Namibian Professional Hunting Association. Maxi, through you. First of all, I want to congratulate MEFT, NACSO, and the communities and everyone involved for the quota setting. Feedback from outfitters are that they are very happy and that they believe the winner is sustainable wildlife conservation. Well done. I further have 2 recommendations, or I'll keep it to 1. A recommendation to communities. In future, please consider to keep it in your requirements that an identified person from your communities will do an internship with the outfitter for 3 years. We have heard it's a business. It's not about only hunting. And the internship can help this candidate to understand the business proposed management of an outfitter much better. And that will help that we get more Ali Ipingis. That is the ultimate goal, and that will help Namibia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannes. Thank you. I just want to be clear, so the internship, is it from NAFA or is it for every operator who will do that? Because not all operators are members of NAFA.
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It might be not very popular.
Yeah.
But if we want to help people and help the communities that their own people run outfitter companies later,
Okay.
it should be an internship.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next. Can we move a bit with the microphones a bit faster?
Good morning. My name is Don Andrew from Doronavas Conservancy. I wanted to know, with regards to policies and guidelines, with tourism operators which are operating in conservancy boundaries, is there a policy or a guideline to hold them liable if they are not sharing revenues with conservancies? They are operating in the conservancy, but there is nothing, no kickback coming back to the conservancy. And with regards to hunting, I would like to know, is it possible for conservancies, instead of just hunting for own use and for trophies, to venture in things like auctions? Because I've witnessed there was an auction in Hobabes whereby a kudu was auctioned for 4.5 million. So can conservancies also venture in that manner? And
Okay.
with JV contracts, can we make it a must for conservancies, if they have to venture into a contract, for these contracts to be explained thoroughly in a language that is home-based, a language that everyone understands,
Yeah.
before they have to venture in that? Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, I think that is the second last person.
Okay, thank you very
That is-
much.
yeah.
My name is Lawrence Lirumba from Kavango East, under the Kaudom North Complex Conservancy. Okay, I have 3 questions. One,
No, you just have one. Prioritize the one that you want to ask.
okay, maybe I can take one on a hunting concession and one on a lodge concession. Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, my question on the hunting contract. So, since it is giving us headache, is there a room for the professional hunter, once the contract gets to an end, for him to go take one of the pump which is contributed to the community as part of his operator's obligations?
Did you get that?
Secondly, from the tourism concession, I just wanted to find out if the concession unity department from the Ministry of Environment is still exist or not.
Okay.
Okay, the question
No,
now.
that is now on. You are going now into other questions. Can you give somebody else a chance now?
Let me just finish with this one. Okay, this one is that since we have tourism contracts, so these tour operators, they are not paying the concession fee as it's supposed to. How can we go about that one? Since we asked them to give us their audited financial report, which they are denying not to be given to us.
Is this from handing or
No,
from
no,
the
this is-
JVs?
This is for tourism concession.
For tourism concessions.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next.
Good morning.
Morning.
My question or my recommendation is on GV. I think we have a policy that is already introduced by our government that says black empowerment. And I think it will be very important is this our black people within conservancy area will also be given opportunity to have the leasehold on their name, and they enter into the joint ventures with their own conservancies in order to uplift the black people in this sector or the business.
So you are recommending that the leasehold is given not to conservancies, but to individuals?
The individual must also given that opportunity
Okay,
alongside the
okay.
conservancies.
Yeah, I got it, yeah, okay. Good, thank you. I think there was one last hand. No, it was not you, Titus, it was somebody at the back there.
Yeah, he will come.
I had 8 people and we'll stick to that. Yanjo nato komunduare. Give it to the person who had their hand up, please. Napot had their hand up. Thank you. Napot, can you go?
Morning, my name is Nabot Mbeli. I'm with the Orange River Karoo Conservation Area. My question goes out to Richard Fryer. First of all, kudos to the ministry for promoting citizen science or citizen hunting, because again, hunting has become so commercialized that the community, as part of traditional practices, that has been eliminated. So my direct question to you is, given that we've been talking about hunting being a business and so on, in your opinion, is wildlife actively being managed as an enterprise in conservancy, or is it left to chance to manage itself? I mean, we saw how, at what level the conservancies really want to operate in terms of attending auctions and really getting into that business of wildlife trade. So that's a question directly to you.
Thank you. So I'm finished with this part. If we have time, I'll come back to you guys. But for now, I had 8 people and that's it. So there's no governor in front of here, so I'll move to the second part, which is this section. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands, 6 hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hands. My eyes can see very well, and they can remember very well. So let's start in front here.
Thank you very much. Yesterday I neglected to mention an experience that is worth looking at. I think someone has just raised it on the issue of auctioning. Just to give an example, last week, Saturday, the Chobe Enclave Conservation Trust in Botswana auctioned its quotas and managed to raise approximately 9 million Namibian dollars. That was 7.4 million pula.
Good.
So it's just something to think about. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. I think we should look at those experiences just close to the border. Next.
Okay, thank you very much. A very beautiful morning to one and all. I am still Martha Ngidengo from Okongo. So I have a question on joint ventures. We have experienced that the conservancies are signing joint venture agreements, but when it comes to compliances, there is a very big failure there. Now the conservancies are sending out invoices to investors to remind them that a certain amount is pending for you to pay to the conservancies. The investors are not attending to those invoices, they are just going on mute. And then when the conservancy decides to terminate the agreement, it also has fears because it wants to get those money the investor is owing the conservancy. So my question is, how best can the ministry and conservancies go about the non-compliances joint ventures and ensure the money that are being owned by investors are being paid after the termination of the agreements? Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. The third question?
Well, very good morning.
Or recommendations, not just questions.
Yeah, probably mine will be the recommendation. We have seen, and I think one of the presenters spoke about a reset somewhere along the line, but the concern is, and even the one presenter yesterday spoke about the competing land use within the conservancy areas. We have subsistence farming, whereas in this room, as we are talking about as Ministry of Environment, conservancies, we are promoting wildlife conservation. Within this trophy hunting and all those, is there perhaps a room where we can, within the conservancy area, create a buffer zone and still promote other economic activities in conservancy areas, such as subsistence farming? We have seen, especially in Kunene, that subsistence farming is dying because of conservancies, and conservation is taking up, and people are migrating for rural areas because wildlife numbers are increasing. Trophy hunting, yes, there is revenue, but the impact on livelihoods of communities is not that much. So we really need to think of other economic activities and how through these policies and recommendations we can also consider it all the way through. Thank you very much.
Diversification, yeah, okay. I have two more. Good, thank you.
Thank you. Jafet Ananias, Ipumbu ya Shilongo, North Central. I would like to really just say a few words to Mr. Richard Freya. You know, the gentleman sitting there up front, he's such a hard-working man. It's somebody that we have been working with in our conservancies, like North Central, whenever we have problems when it comes to payments and all that. And truly, that gentleman is so helpful and he's really sticking to his work.
DD promotion for Richard, please.
Thank you. Ms. Maxi, I'm so glad that we are having our governors here in this gathering. And from our side, the North Central people, it will be not really that good just to talk about one point, because our two hardworking young governors, they would really want to hear what we are saying. So, when Mr. Bennett was speaking, I've been hearing Kunene Zambezi. But if we are talking about the JVs, North Central, we are not doing well on that one. Of which is the truth. We can talk about two conservancies that are bordering Etosha. As we are talking now, the fence of Etosha is being fenced off. And in 2 years or 3 years' time, the sustainability of our conservancies won't be there, because now the tourism side is not working, and the fencing off, obviously that's going to affect our hunting. And it's as if we are being mute on this one. For instance, where I come from, the Ipumbuya Shilongo Conservancy, the agreements were signed somewhere 2018-17. But up to now, nothing has been done. We have been writing letters, Meme Eli, they can attest to that. We have been writing letters to the ministry so that we can talk with the partners, so that either we can terminate, even the resolutions were taken in the AGMs, that we should terminate. Mr. Usil, I don't know whether he's here. He was there. Yes, you can clearly tell. Mr. Tio Obey has been writing letters, but your officers has been quiet. You never replied on anything. Sometimes we are blaming the government, but the administrators, we are not doing anything. We have been asking about the legal fees. Most of the conservancies here, they are going through the legal things, or we are scared to go through that road. But because we don't know whether we go through the legal matters, we can be able to be assisted. Is there any way we can be able to go? Each and every day, each and every way when we go to the AGMs, we are telling people the same thing, that we are working on this and that. People are there at the cooker shops, young people, drinking tombos because they are not engaged, because they are not busy with anything. But yet, we are coming here, we talk, nothing is being done. Colleagues, what I'm suggesting here today, the North Central specifically, when it comes to the JVs, we should put it in the resolution recommendation and we can follow it up the next time we are coming here. We can even call maybe the governors, you can call the high delegation to come to the north, together with the governors, and then we can be able to find a solution to these problems. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Good. Last one. Last one. There were 8. Let me see. Yeah. No, there were 2 yet.
Yes. Good morning, colleagues. And thanks to our government, thanks to our ministry. This is what we have been told yesterday. We need to say thanks. That our government realized that natural resources at the rural area need to benefit the community, which is good. However, at the basement, we also realized that somewhere, somehow, we are not heard. When we bring up what we pick up in a daily basis, we need to be engaged. We need to be heard. Each and every time we are saying, for us to get the quota, it's the game guard, it's through game guards who patrolling to tell how many animals, how many wild animals in the bush. However, you find ourselves that some game guards are traveling as far as 70 kilometers footing, telling our line ministry by saying, we need the transport so that we can close the gap. This was ignored. So many times it's just ignored. It won't close the gap. We cannot move if we are not closing those gaps. We need to be understood on this. With that, I also want to mention that we want our line ministry to take it seriously with the donors. That this thing of helping the community with the money that comes with a condition,
we had that point yesterday.
need to come to an end. It's possible.
Yeah, we had it yesterday.
We want to be engaged.
Yeah.
Please, let us look at the issue of transport very seriously.
Yeah.
that we can work better than where we are now. Thank you.
Thank you. So the issue of the donors was discussed yesterday. I said it's packed. We'll have special attention to those ones. Please do not repeat what we had yesterday because we had those questions already. Gershon?
Yes.
I want to move to the next session. What is your question?
No, I'm coming. You are too fast for me.
And then Tristan afterwards, sorry.
Yes, you are too fast for me. I just rise from my chair.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, my name is Gerson, and I'm the chairperson of Twadikwas. As the people were talking about Grootberg, Hobadre, and water campsite falls under my supervision.
Give him a hand clap, please.
Yes. What I want to say today, I don't want to talk about the Grootberg and the Hobadre. Later, if you have time, I can tell about them. But when concession unit or Ms. Ellie was talking about, I was thinking they are leaving out the maintenance of the concessions. How will this maintenance in the concessions be done? Will it be the operator of the concession? And what part will the government play in the maintenance of the concession? Fencing, boreholes, water supply of the wild animals. The wildlife sizes are getting increasing in the concessions for tourism concessions. What will be done with the increasing size of the wildlife in the concessions? Are we going to get them as a trophy springbok or as a trophy kudu when they get old, or are they going to die as it is for the life cycle of the animal wildlife in the vicinity? And yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to be clear, Gershon is handing in the concession. That's what you are referring to.
I want to find out whether the concession with the tourisms can also be given when the animals are getting old to hunt also. For after like if we can say the lifespan of the animals, we know springboks can go up to 8 to 9 or 12 years, and then the others. So you get 20 years of concession, of 25, and these animals will get old while we are there, and the size will increase. What can we do on it?
Okay, we got the question. Thank you. Last one in this row.
Yeah, morning everyone. Tristan Cowley, I'm here today in the capacity of Fanata, but on a daily basis I represent a company called Ultimate Safaris. It's more of an observation and also knowing that the ministry got a lot of stick yesterday. But I think it's important also to remember where we've come from in all of this and what's enabled us to actually be here and celebrate the successes of a remarkable wildlife recovery. And I think there's inherent mistrusts in society. Civil society mistrusts government, conservancy mistrusts investors. These are things that are there, and I think the fundamental problem in most of that is transparent communication, intentional or not intentional. So those will always be there. But I wanted to also, in terms of speaking where we've come from, highlight how far this industry has come. And I actually want to speak to the fact that we are getting governors involved, which I applaud, and I think it's good. But comments made yesterday and to a degree today in terms of revenue sharing and the place of, and I don't call them investors because I think they are true partners. Investors are very different things, and partners should enter into these agreements on a very different basis. But yesterday, comments made in terms of what organizations may charge and how those fees trickle down. I think it's very dangerous to put partnership, divisive narratives out there without a full understanding of both sides, especially the business sides of things. And Mr. Kahuri alluded to it. These businesses are incredibly complex, and to form narratives on what appears to be top-line earnings that have the potential to devise and be divisive, I think are quite dangerous at times. I think what's important is how far we've come here. This industry is the only industry in the country, or sector in the country, that has a top-line revenue sharing mechanism with land custodians. I see no mines sharing top-line revenue with the land custodians. It is the only sector where investors are investing in communal land, where after the tenure of a contract, that investment vests with the state and by default with the conservancies. These are big achievements from an investor perspective and from a community perspective. And there's no one in the sector that has achieved that to date. So I think we need to sort of recognize how far the industry and how far the sector, from a CBNRM perspective, has already come. There's a lot of room for improvement, and in all sectors, there are, and in this case I'll have to call them colleagues because I'm potentially representing them, that don't do us any favors. But there's a lot of good work happening as well, and I think the industry and the ministry is doing really well at streamlining this and ensuring that there is legitimate, impactful partnership happening. So I think it is worth noting how far we've come in all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget where we are coming from. That is the message that I get, and not just look at problems. I'm moving towards this section here. Let me just see by show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 2 governors in front here. And then the councillor there. Let's start at the back. Yeah, I can see you at the back. And then we'll come down this way. Please remember you are standing in front of your tea break.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Rudolf Tausap. I'm coming from the Namib Desert, living within a national park called the Namib Nokloof Park. I want to, first and foremost, actually congratulate the Kwadi was Conservancy. Because I, as a community member, as a chairperson, went to visit them at the Hopatere Lodge. And I must say, I was very, very impressed. This is coming from an equal community member, because they treated us, me and my small family, with the best that I've ever seen. So for that, I want to tell you, guys, you are doing good. Please keep on. That's what we want to see in this country. Having said that, I want to come back to the core issue we are discussing. Indeed, conservancies, and in our case, an association, is a very important tool to empower communities, especially those of us that are living in the community, within the national park. I have a concern. The concern I'm going to raise is with regard to the manner in which our area has been designed and structured in terms of satisfying the association. We have been granted a corridor that would stretch from, let's say, from Vordel, which is now close to the ocean, next to the salt pans, and about up to Homep, and 5 kilometers south from Homep. That has now been demarcated as the area in which the community association has to operate. The area has also been defined in such a way as you get this, what is that road, 1983, 500 meters is on the gravel side of the road, and then about 2 kilometers towards the side of the dunes. That is the corridor that the association has been allocated to operate in. The concern I'm having is that if you look at the structure, how this site with this area has been defined, very little or few animals can be found in that area. even activities that has been, that we are looking at as potential, income generating programs are also being limited. And I just wonder, for a community that has been living in the desert for over thousands of years, to be narrowed down in terms of development in a corridor of that size, it really bothers my mind how these people will ever make a decent living. On top of that, we have to understand what we do today, we do for our future generations to come. Now, what message am I as a chairperson, as an elder, and as a community member going to tell my children? And what will our community members, our children, the future generations inherit? Because traditionally, we used to roam around the desert. The distances we covered is from the ocean to the Kommershoogland is about 150 kilometers. This is the area in which my people were roaming. And today, we can only concentrate in that small, narrow area for development purposes. And yet, next to our own environment or the area that we've been defined, mining companies are now coming up. There is a potential of a copper mine that probably might open. As we speak, they are busy with drilling and work at the moment, next door to our communities. And yet we've had no say to that. So this is a serious question that I want to pose to the ministry. How are we going to have a decent life secured for our community members, for our children that need to come, if they have to be confined to a corridor?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We got the question. Thank you so much. Yeah, we got it. And I'm sure my colleagues also got it. So I'm trying to get from the back, please. Yes. Can we move the roving mics, please? Yes.
No, thank
Go
you
ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Maxi.
Yes.
The first one, I'm just seeking the indulgence of the chair, probably because we are running out of time, to cap the time instead of maybe limiting questions, and to say that you only have 45 seconds, just as an example. And if you have your 2 points and you can make them in 45 seconds,
You have your time now. Can you just do that? Now you are explaining. You want to ask the question or you want to make your case?
That was the first. So the second one is, there is an issue that is coming within conservancies now, that is conflicting land uses, that is threatening tourism. And probably I want to ask whether, probably it seems like we have missed one step during the conservancy registration, and probably that is conducting the office of the Surveyor General. It's coming. I'm happy that now my Honorable Governor for Shkoto is here. It's happening now in King Nahale, conservancy with the town council. Maybe just some information if we are going to register conservancies with the office of the Surveyor General, because it has potential implication to the tourism industry. The very second last one is the complexity versus the capacity within concession unit and tourism sector within the program. Not that concession unit does not have the capacity. I'm saying in terms of, not the staff members, but the staff members, for me, they are very few to be able to provide the required support for us to be able to achieve the maximum impact out of this concession. Just the very last one, legal support within the CBNRM program, it has been coming over the years. Makes it we are challenged on the ground, either from a tourism lodge perspective, from concession perspective, or even from the hunting perspective. Do we have the legal support within the system or within the program that will really help us to crack this matter? Thank you.
Thank you. There are people that are they know how to do it, so Theo is one of them. Okay, yes.
Yes, my name is...
just hold on, there's somebody at the back, and then you'll come, yeah. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Khai Erastus Arnold. Khai is my indigenous name, and I'm representing the Kong Traditional Authority in Chumkwe West Communal Area. Just a contribution and a question, of course. For those of us who has a little knowledge on the legal framework in the country, we know that traditional authorities have a legal mandate in terms of an act of parliament to ensure that natural resources are utilized on a sustainable manner for the benefit of the current and future generations. And my concern, we have heard the different presentations from our experts, but it's a big concern for me not to see the involvement of traditional authorities when it comes to natural resource utilization that is meant for the benefit of our traditional communities. My question is, to what extent are traditional authorities involved when it comes to conservation hunting and signing of conservation hunting contracts? And Ms. Maxi, with your permission, I think I have the same question also when it comes to tourism JV agreements. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got the question. Next, yes, thank you. The mic is off. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Franz Kohab, environmental management student at IUM. So under the heading of opportunities, I just want to ask on the scholarship and grants, is I want to know when are they being informed or advertised and when?
Thank you. When you have the opportunity, use it. That's the way it is.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Oningirwa Vindina. Kathaona cannot translate, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, it's the chairperson of the Onjo Conservance Community GAM. Mundu moningira kusakathaona can translate. Ondu listen a lot of things. Ambano sho mundu ngumbari mo the extent anakacho. Winacho mwendo olempi. Monji thire.
Motorekerwa.
Kathaona can translate it.
Okay.
Yeah. Ambano okuyake first of all ngulimbo batu ningira kusa etwa dhumba mena kushendo mona haka hana tungure the handout da imbi mamutu pora pota ba mena kushaka tuna kutfairera nawa ende mona haka hana noiri tekatuna ku haka hano kutora kusha matu hepa o handout ado da imbi mbia kungirwamba. Can translate.
Well, I've been ordered to translate. Is the chairperson of Ojo Conservancy. Thank you very much, but he just want to raise one point that I think everything is done in haste, and sometimes they are also not following it up properly. So they would really want to have notes of all the proceedings, if that can be availed to them to take along as well.
Okay, thanks, we got it.
Dagishinene, o ngwapratene o emboro mutengwa Richard Fryer for Hanti Conservancy. Be prateno matha. O ko pratena mokanake mwenoho. Oko lombranda tu po hambo mweko. Ko contract. Ine bari mbimi ango kuingiria ko uri.
I listened very attentively to Master Richard Fryer's presentation, where he made reference to the 3 years contracts and the 6 respectively. He would really like to talk about that.
Mundoso sa ndakubai hamu mutima asata ko biba rero mbimbya mishe namba byo bimari bambya hita mu mburanzo. Ngizona. Andakumai hamu mutima asata ko imari bambya hita mu mburanzo.
If now, Richard, you must be ready. If you are really genuine, you would have looked at the number of the incomes that were generated through those periods. through the 3 years.
Oshihoromende muno hangen kushabitho kumunuka yodo conservancy program na hangi.
As government, are you happy with the amount that Conservancy are earning in those 3 years?
O teshovana ni matu munuka tuna hange na katuna hange matu hamuti mano shimari bao.
As leaders, we are not happy with it. It hurts us.
Mosimbesho kusha o tumunu kushihoromende ikare ya kubandu mamusho although mboba mutu chotura fi hunters.
It seems like you guys, government deciding was the professional hunters.
Mosimbesho kusha katuna wicho horomende ya urwa iye kushabi over conservancy kuno horomende de utukuripa haro the client adado ko mahiwa Europe kukuyendo wakwetu tumuno imari ya mbiri vyo kushatua muna imari itekimpo.
What is so difficult for government to ensure that Conservancy directly they go and look for hunters so that there is no middleman in between? What is so difficult for government to get that sorted?
Kushatuza pomo pereiza imatu yetemaitu hemna mtimondu tupewa onyu yonjo kashimari ya shonjo.
So if we are having direct contact with the clients, then there is no issue of middleman cost. Then we get the real value for the elephant or whatever trophy animals we are putting out there.
Kapita okanakaro.
Next, moving to the next one.
Olombura datu.
3 years.
Nekamburo kushanga tungunda atu tizirembo moshimbe kusho bandu mbodo trophy mekunda tuwashe njobando the flavor shinen.
I think let us not do any adjustment to the time frame of 3 years because there's some hazy ground with the professional hunter. Let us keep it until we get our house in order.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So I had, I think the last hand or two, with the two hands here. People don't take the mic if I have not given you, you were not part of the count. Were you?
I thought I was counted.
Okay. Okay. Oh no, you go ahead. You go ahead. Is the old first, Councillor? Can we just get the old man at the back? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And don't repeat what has been said, please.
I don't think I will repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Benedict Sauzo, the chairperson of Uparo Conservancy from Zambezi region. Uparo Conservancy is the epicenter of tourism in the Zambezi region. So I'm raising a concern here on the dispute resolution. You know, some conservancies do not have legal representatives. In case of dispute resolution, that may occur between either the lodge operator or the PH. Will the ministry be able to intervene in the process of resolving the dispute between parties, or if there was a court case between the conservancy and the operators, or other related labor-related matters? So will the ministry be able to intervene? Because we don't have lawyers as conservancies. There are cases where we land in courts, so we don't have representatives. Will the ministry be able to intervene in these issues?
Thank
I
you.
had another concern, but time is limited.
Thank you. We got that concern already in terms of legal, but thank you for reminding us again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maxi, the moderator. Let me also, now that I have seen that the Honorable have arrived, let me also honor them and the visitors. John Kasauna, Namibia, CPNRM. I just wanted to say that the liberation for struggle of this country was for land, empowerment, giving rights to the indigenous communities. And if we talk about communal conservancy, we are talking about indigenous people that are living there, whose rights need to be protected. We are talking about many conventions that are there to preserve and guide on how these indigenous people's rights need to be protected. So, and with land, the meaning was to ensure economic emancipations for both the collectives and individuals. So for us as a country to make a law that actually denies certain segments of the very communities that we are saying we are standing for.
Yeah, we just want to acknowledge the minister's arrival. Thank you so much, Minister. Okay, John, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so for us, I was saying that I'm John Kasauna from Namibia, Namibian from Kunene regions.
Okay, John, go ahead.
I was also saying that the liberation for struggles, for the independence of this country, was to gain land, empowerment, so that we can have access to land and continue with our activities and livelihoods. Was the ultimate aim to ensure economic emancipations of the rural residents in this country, in a democratic country called Namibia. So I'm saying to make a law in a country, and is it aimed at the very people in conservancy that we all know these are indigenous people whose rights need to be protected no matter what happens. To make law that sanctions certain operation of certain segments in that particular communities, only the masses, we are proposing that only the masses must be given the right through a conservancy, individuals in Katima, in Sarambala, in King Nehale, in Sesfontein, in Tora, a Pupa conservancy. This individual should not be given the right to own land and actually do their own businesses. This is what we are saying here in this conference. And this is the message that we want the conservancy to take home and tell the members that from now onwards, going forward, you don't have that right. So what I was proposing is that...
Can you get to finish, John?
I have to finish, but this is a very critical, it's a fundamental right that we really need to work on.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that Maxi and the House, and I'm sure the governors are listening, and I'm also glad that when I'm mentioning this, our honorable minister is here. These are the voters of these countries that we are saying you don't have the right to exercise any businesses in your conservancies. This is the very people we are saying you don't have the right, whoever, John Kasauna, Honorable Vipa, you don't have the right to do a leasehold in your area in Okangwati unless if it is not through a conservancy. That what I'm saying is, I think let us do away with that sections.
Okay.
Put it aside.
That's your recommendation.
Let me recommend.
Yeah.
You are putting word in my mouth now. Let me recommend that let it be. I also don't think that the Competition Commission will also allow that certain segment in a community, in a conservancy, to be deprived to own anything at all. So people must be given equal rights. Conservancy can apply for the leasehold, and also individual can also do the application for the leasehold, but if individual does leasehold, they must equally comply to whatever requirement is being required. That means that benefit sharing arrangement must kick in. They must be able to pay benefit bed night levy as anybody else would do. Yeah. But to say that randomly you are not allowed, what country is this? What did we find for independence?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, we got it, John. Thank you. Let's move to the councillor. I think he had his hand up for quite a long time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Director, for this chance. Allow me to consolidate the sentiments echoed by most of the communal conservancies. We have heard, and most of the conservancies are just complaining. It seems that we have a very big crisis, specifically on contract agreements between conservancies and investors. Many times, conservancies are complaining that the investors do not honor the contract agreements. They likely to play games in delaying what they are being expected to perform. And we should bear in mind that the conservancies, they also need to see to it that they improve the well-being and the livelihood of people that are living within the jurisdictions of their redscape. Therefore, one can see that these conservancies, they would opt to take the low road. Therefore, I just want now to get clarity as to what specific entities that can probably bail out these conservancies regarding this problem. I would also want to give a practical example. I'm the regional councillor for Uvudia constituency in Oshana region, where we have Ipumbu Yashirongo Conservancy. In Ipumbu Yashirongo Conservancy, 4 years back or 5 years back, they're supposed to be constructed a certain road. But now the investor who entered into contract agreement with the Ipumbu Yashirongo Conservancy just kept on delaying, playing tactics up to now, as we are speaking. The construction of this road is just idling. Therefore, I think we would really want to be given a specific entity that can be contacted or that we can bring on board so that they can help in this crisis. I so submit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, good. So now we are moving, can I have, can we have Peggy, you want to, okay, good. Do you want somebody to translate?
Yes.
Okay.
Felix Mbambo, can you please come next to me?
They can translate from wherever they are. Just give the mic. You talk.
Talitumeli hawa mbapegi tutalifeva zwira kunkuta ya Mashi Traditional Authority Mazambezi region.
Oh.
I'm thanking everyone. Peggy Tutalife, the TA represented here of Mashi TA.
Litumeli hawa imu impuzo yangu ya vanaivuzi kuna vena vakwame ya kulia handout kashandi yambe chobu beli chindisha kuamba chokute tuamba zo kuvavarela ezipao zetu maniyo zonchevlo ma resources yetu chwarenda kwine mpuzo yokutekana vomunso kavaoli kutupangira chintu chonke chokute haiva kakuli hena tuvangane mikiti tuhewa ngazi pao zokulya kapachaya iwa vashimunso kapachaya iwa vani tushilie nyama twata kukumbira kavaoli kutuwane no jaura kutuchana chine chipa kuma trophy hunter nokuchia tuwane ko chimu ivenkuta ndalitumeli.
The question is, we used to have the TA animals hunted, and we used to get only meat. So the question is about why can't we get the professional hunter who hunts it and pay the money to the TA? That's the question.
Okay, I'm sure Richard, you got it because, Richard, you got a question. Okay, good. Now we are moving towards the governors. I had 2 hands. Now there are 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's start from the end of the table and then we just move on.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister I listened very attentively this morning again when the presenters gave the submissions to this House, and also to all the inputs that were made by the Namibians in this room, and perhaps our players, our development players. You spoke about the acts, the laws, the policies, and your constitutions that are governing your existence. But I want to tell this House that the regions of our Republic of Namibia, the 14 administrative regions, are given to the regional governors by Constitution, Article 110A, for the governors to have an oversight, executive oversight function over all the operations in the given regions. Furthermore, the same Article 110A, sub-article 1, also gives the governor the constitutional mandate to be the link between all the operations in a given region and that of the central government. And there is a very serious de-link from what I see happening in this ministry with its functions. Because number one, none of these functions that are closest to the community in terms of land use, in terms of all the so-called complex businesses, in terms of whatever functions, are decentralized. There is a very serious de-link. I see the deconcentrated offices in the regions that are run by officers. We appreciate them. So there is that very serious matter that needs to be addressed without fear or without any excuse. Because we, the governors, are accountable to the head of state, to tell the president, to tell the cabinet what is happening in a given region at all levels of development. So therefore, my submission, Honorable Minister here, and as a governor who is also an administrator, I am trying my every best to create that relationship with every ministry. One of the ministries, Honorable Minister, with whom I have difficulty is your ministry. Whenever I am trying to intervene positively for the sake of my people in Orango region, I don't even get an acknowledgement letter. I wrote in particular about a Hungu Lodge, which is idling for more than 20 years, since the time that I was a chief regional officer, where monies were spent. And in Omachede area, my young people, my women are poor. That lodge could have already provided some answers to the poverty. I wrote, the next thing I have seen, without my letters being acknowledged, was an advert where you are looking for the expression of interest by whomever. And the governor is not involved. So let us, we are family here. We are family, I am not fighting. Let us do things right. If we want to see change, if we want to really improve the lives and the livelihoods of the Namibian people, indigenous people, well, of course, we need to coexist with, of course, with the partners that are in our land, in our space. So please, let us seriously look at how we want to change and do things differently, business unusual. I appreciate your presentation, the first Is it Mr. Fryer? Genuine, I like it. I like officers that speak hard, that are really concerned, that tells a story of hope. I like your presentation, Mr. Who? Mr. Fryer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
So
Honorable
thank you very
Karana.
much. All of you did very well anyway, but let us mean business and let it be business unusual.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I will not dilute what the Honorable Governor Erongo have spoken about. Honorable Minister, thank you once again for joining us. Honorable Minister, last year, when we were just sworn in as governors, we were running like headless chickens, 3 of us, Honorable Ofni and Honorable Kathindi there, on the issue of fire outbreak. And fire outbreak in those areas is an issue which is appearing every year. On the issue of wildlife, still is the same. Honorable Minister, I want to propose, in respect of Umsati region, as having the 3 conservancy within the boundary of Umsati region and a portion which touches not Ohangwena but Oshana, and the other one in Kunene, and also having cooperatives within those forests, having Omtambo, Omawe, and Oshambelo, as well as the community forest. So I want to propose, because in this boardroom, the way I'm seeing it, we will not finish. I want to propose that, Comrade Minister, my honorable, can we have a meeting in Umsati region between Minister of Environment, Minister of Agriculture, Regional Council, Traditional Authority, and the conservancies, so that we unpack whatever that we want to put to the attention of the ministry. That will be the only way that we can solve issues. Because here we are just talking just to make sure we have said something, but we need to have tangible recommendation, but this can only happen if we have a 2-day meeting in Umsati region and then we discuss. If need be, it can be extended to all the regions. So that is the proposal I'm having. Thank you very much.
Honorable. So those are the actions that we are looking at, tangible actions. Honorable?
Yeah, thank you so much, and good day. Acknowledging the presence of our Honorable Minister and all our respected delegates. Mine is we should not lose focus on the benefits, natural resource beneficiation to our grassroots people. I think the conference has brought us together, community-based natural resource management, enhancing governance for optimized benefits to those that are really intended for. That would really be, let us constantly focus, let this conference constantly focus, let us zoom in constantly on that. Not forgetting and not really appreciating what the industry is bringing to us as a country. I have been to wilderness myself, observing how the industry has really helped us as Namibians in terms of job creation and all the others. That we really applaud them for. But we are looking at concessions. If I'm looking at the statistics, I want to bring us back. Awarded community concessions and operational concessions. The statistics was very clear. You have seen in many of the regions, there's no concessions operating. It's 0, 0, 0, 0. And that's worrisome for me. We applaud really also Mr. Fryer and Mr. Bennett, our director, who has alluded to the challenges and really giving us where the loopholes are and that we need to strengthen. Honorable Minister, we need to really strengthen better frameworks and closing these gaps and these loopholes. One of that is the agreements, the direct signing of the agreements, as the Honorable Governors said. The Governor's offices are completely left in limbo. We are just standing on an island in the region, having this huge responsibility, making sure that natural resource beneficiation must reach the intended targets. So let's strengthen this, bring in mechanisms that we make sure that the contracts that are being signed between conservancies and operators, that it really benefits those people on the ground. And specifically also with the agreements of the leaseholds. You have spoken so strongly, Mr. Bennett. How can someone sit on a piece of land and not being part of the benefit of that leasehold of that land? I so submit, Honorable Minister, my humble plea is also for the regions, and I can only speak now on terms of HARDA, that we really need to come down, interrogate these issues, and find solutions, because it's about finding solutions that will benefit the people of our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you very much. This is Hofni Pinge, Oshana region. We heard a lot since yesterday. And as far as this administration, aid administration is concerned, we said we have been talking, and no implementation. So it's time for us now to implement. It's an administration of action-oriented. But still, we are saying it's not business as usual, but it seems like it's business as usual. So because us to come here, not just to come here and listen, we want action. We want action because it has been for so long. We have just talking, but no implementation. Implementation is a problem in all our dealings. That's why we are sitting here. Now we are saying we have to go for coffee because, people have to talk because they have a lot to say. And my intervention is to say, because all the 14 regions have got executive bodies in our hands as regional governors, why can't you give us power so that we can take charge, own our own conservancy, whereby we can invite the officials in the ministry so that we discuss issues pertaining in our conservancies. So I don't feel I don't feel comfortable, because before I come here, I even went straight to my people in the conservancy because I want you to give me a report of the achievements and the challenges. So I am sitting with the whole paper full of challenges, which we cannot even address here. And it's best if we can have site meetings in those specific conservancies led by the regional governors, the officials. So we talk to our people and give report to the line ministry of what our people are going through, because they know a lot. Because me traveling all the 700 kilometers from Oshana region just to come and sit here, and we don't have the same problems. Each conservancy, they are going through their own problems, which we supposed just to settle within those specific conservancies. Then we give our report on the challenges and also on the achievements and the way forward. So there's a lot that we need to discuss, but it's only if we can bring our people together with the ministries coordinating so the information will reach out to the line ministry. Because now here, honestly speaking, we can sit here for 2 or 3 days or whatever, but we might just be talking, but no action will be taken. So I submit, and I'm ready to facilitate this on behalf of my conservancy, which is Ipumbu ya Shilongo in Oshana region. I am sitting with a lot of challenges, but I want to intervene, discussing fully with my people in the line ministry. So we have a comprehensive report that we will submit to the line ministry, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maxine. And Honorable Minister, good morning to yourselves. Your presence is duly acknowledged. I want to talk to 3 things. Firstly, it is the presentation. I did not get the name because I wasn't here when he started. Richard Fryer. What? Mr. Richard. I think the things he said in terms of the intended reforms in mainstreaming operations within the hunting operations of this sector, I think are very much welcome. And these efforts must be expedited so that it doesn't just become talk, it becomes action. And they should be accompanied by timelines, that by this date we should have reached these objectives to ensure that we are actually reaching there, and we don't talk after 5 years and 4 years to say that our aim was this and we are still there. The next thing that I want to talk to is the exemption sought by the ministry from the Competition Commission. One, Mr. Kahure did not give us a justification why the exemption is sought. 2, if this monopoly, because call it what it is, it's a monopoly. If this monopoly of a 25 years signed concession or leasehold or whatever the agreement is in its 2nd year, is the exemption then sought for the next 23 years? How old will the person be that is 40 years old that has sourced an investor who is from the conservancy, who is from the region, that wants to operate at a specific area? How old will he be after that 23 years has lapsed? If he's 40, he will be 63 years old. By then, the investor has gone somewhere else. 2, a wrong is a wrong. If the Competition Commission is saying that it is wrong for a lodge operator to have a monopoly, there must be fair, healthy competition, then it is what it is. There must be fair and healthy competition, and I do not understand why the ministry then goes and seeks for the wrong to continue. I don't understand. If I could be unconventional and ask Mr. Kahure and Meme Dogosho, Mr. Dogosho, can you please stand up for me and remove your chairs, please? That's the 3rd thing I want to talk to. Just stand up for me and please remove your chairs. I now want to speak to the point of Mr. Thurston. Where is he? Yes, there. Just the chairs. What I want us to see is the picture behind you. Maybe it's fine. Okay, I will explain the picture. Behind them, the reason why I'm saying please go is that is an elephant. That is a shack or an informal house built with corrugated irons. If you look very close to on the top of the tail, at the base of the elephant, is a child eating porridge or bread. I don't know, but he's eating something. But it's a child, it's a black child. Please, you can sit. We are celebrating that picture as coexistence. We are celebrating that picture as coexistence. But what is the reality? When we are talking about mistrust,
between the investor, policymaker, which is government, and communities, we should also understand that interests are different, and everybody is standing from a positional, is approaching issues relating to this from an interest position. Now, what is the interest of government and policymaker? If I can bring us back to that picture. The policy of government and the interest of government is to ensure that that shack is a thatched roof structure where that child's mother and father sits on the lobby of that structure with a bottle of champagne, leaned back, foot over the other, relaxed as a local. That the picture that I'm trying to paint in our minds is not exclusive for the visitor. That those who are taking care of that elephant, who are allowing that elephant to come that close to their homes, probably have gone through the field of maize, enjoys the ultimate benefit of conservation, which is wealth. Now, then where does the mistrust come from? If government places policies in place that ensures that, and the interest of the partner, which is the investor, is to make the maximum amount of money from the operation, mistrust will be created. Because now the interests are not the same. One's interest is the community, and the other's interest is capital. So we must also, within these conversations that the governors are talking about, locate where our interests overlap and make ourselves concentrate on those issues that are of common interest. Because if the interest of the investor is to protect a 23-year monopoly, government will have to push back. And the communities will push back. You would note, and this is the last point I want to make in reference to that, you will note that in this conference, Kunene is the angriest region. Yes, it's a fact. I think it's evident. It is evident that your most successful conserving region is not happy. Is not happy with the law. Probably a level of mistrust that there is between the policymaker and the people that are handling the conservation on the ground. In a similar fashion that we say government intends to make that shack a thatched roof structure where perhaps the owner of that structure does not have to earn because conservancy is making so much money. The pushback, and I return to what I said yesterday, the pushback and perhaps the policy would not be necessary if instead of the conservancy getting $10 million and goes and buys with $5 million 5 Land Cruisers, that pushback would not be there. If the chairperson or if anyone of within the conservancy, and Mr. Kahura said it yesterday, does not take 500,000, $1 million, puts it in his pocket with impunity. Mr. Kahura was saying that when the law is to take its course, someone goes and says, no, we are family, we cannot report each other. He said it was undisputed. So in the face of a government that doesn't want to that wants to ensure that the 500,000 actually goes towards constructing a school, what will happen? The government will bring in a policy that makes sure that self-regulation, to ensure that self-regulation that did not work actually works for all and not just the conservancy leadership. So I think, Mr. Thurston, we must locate our interest. There must be a give and take. With benefits comes responsibilities. With responsibilities comes duties. If one of us in the triangle does not carry out their duties and responsibilities, the other will have to act to protect the interest. Just before I close, I think I agree with Honorable Tateka Saona, John. And perhaps I don't want to say much about it because of how we ended yesterday. That the law, if it's at cabinet level, will probably go to Parliament for it to become a public document. But if it is true to say that a member of a conservancy cannot own and operate within a conservancy, if I'm led to believe, or if I understand him correct, then surely there is something wrong there. Because what it means is, if John is a person from Kunene of a given conservancy, Puros, Sesfontein constituency, he has no right in himself to operate. That flies right into the face of what? Sorry, not Andre? Richard. Into the face of what Richard said. Because that means you can empower him to be the hunter, but he can never hunt in that constituency. We can give him money from TBN to build a lodge, but he can never build a lodge in that conservancy. Who must do it? Who will improve us if we are not allowed to improve ourselves? So I do not know whether that is indeed the law. But if it is indeed the law, surely it must be reviewed. But I actually think the conversation is mislocated to be had at this stage because of the stage of the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we will have our last one, our last honorable who will make his intervention, and then we will give the presenters a chance just to summarize some of the questions that came from the floor, and then we will have a break. I know this break is now very close to lunch, but we need the break. Honorable? Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Maxi?
Sorry, Honorable, you go ahead first. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for joining us. My name is Saki Kathinde, Governor of Shikoto Region, and the Chairperson of Governors Forum. Comrade Minister, I said what I said yesterday. It seems we have to start somewhere.
Mm.
Governors have mandate, but the coordination and engagement between conservancies or the ministry. The governor of Umsati, Honorable Shikongo, put it clearly that there is a need of engagement. Otherwise, things will not end well, if I can put it that way. Conservancies are on land, and this is land we are talking about. Let's engage, let's coordinate. There is a gap. Let's narrow that gap, Honorable Minister. So that's my contribution.
Mm.
Let's narrow that gap. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable. I think the Honorable has been, he's been emphasizing on this from day one, coordination, making sure that the governors are involved. And thank you so much, Honorable Governors. I think that's why I let you speak last, so that you hear from the communities and then also from others. And then we have very good actions. I actually saw a lot of actions coming through from the Honorable Governors here. So what I will do, I would ask, there was a point that was raised here in terms of, you know, the exclusion of Namibians into, and I think it's a really critical point, Honorable Governor, that you brought up. I would love maybe leave it to the DED to come on and maybe give more information on that. But then I would also like to have the presenters quickly just summarize. There was questions on the ground, which I think it's really critical that the communities understand some of the questions that they have asked. And then after that, then we will have a break for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. We know 2 days is not enough for these discussions, but we'll try and make sure that we can do with the time what we have now. Can I first ask Richard? Richard, you have all the responses. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxi. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the Honourable Minister. The first question on the prices of elephant. Please, we cannot compare, like for example, Nyai Nyai has got exceptional elephant, good quality trophy. That's why you'll find in Nyai Nyai that the prices will be higher than in, for example, Zambezi. And I did mention it in my presentation that trophy quality, especially on elephant, is a problem in Zambezi. So it's very difficult. You're not going to get the same price there like in Nyai Nyai. Then the question on the guaranteed payments up front. That's a tricky one. Obviously, this comes with a lot of money, because some of these concessions are 6, 7 million in a year, and to come up with that money up front is going to be very difficult for the operator to make that payment. I cannot speak on behalf of them, but it's going to be difficult. And also, please take into consideration that they every year they go out to shows and they don't sell their entire quota. So there is a shortfall, and they sell their quota as they progress through the year. They get more clients, so it's sometimes it's difficult to expect them to pay that. But we can look into that further. Auctions, can the Conservancy enter these auctions? Yes, I can't see why not. But please take into consideration that this is an intensive breeding program that comes with a lot of money that needs to be invested into that auctions. But it's a good idea. Correct, that Kudu bull did fetch 4.5 million. But again, you must look at the size of that kudu. It's 68 inches, and that is massive. And that, we need to look into that, but it comes with a cost. It's a very intensive breeding program that. Can operators remove assets? Colleagues, this is a very, very serious issue that we picked up in the contracts, and what I suggest in future is that work through your regional office of what assets are brought into the Conservancy, that one can sign an addendum to the existing contract on those, so that there's no argument at the end of the day who's who and who belongs to what. I think we just need to bring it into that contract as an addendum that, like this water pump was donated by the operator, so, and meaning that he cannot take it out there again. We just need to focus on those addendums. Nabot, your question, are conservancies actively managing their wildlife? Yes and no, I would say. I'd like to give the example of game counts. Some conservancies have 3 game count routes, but they got 18 game guards employed. So that is that ratio just does not make sense for me. But then I've mentioned it in my presentation that we need to look at we need to give more support on the game count routes. Then I'm coming to the middle here, zonations. All the contracts have zonation maps attached to them. And these zonation maps clearly indicate which area in that conservancy is set aside for farming, for tourism, for hunting, and so forth. So, but these maps are all in the current contracts. They're nice colored maps, so that's part of the contractual obligations. Then Tatitio and the chairperson from Viparo, I agree with you. We need legal support. We need to have some or other way of accessing funds to support conservancies that get into legal battles with operators. I fully support that. TA involvement in setting quotas, there was a question on that. I can assure you when we do these quota consultations, everybody is invited. Conservancy, TA, contract signing. I was at contract signing now in Zambezi, and most of these conservancies, the TA well, actually all of them were the TA representatives were there. So that is being done. Then the chairperson of Onjo. Am I happy with the prices? Yes, I am happy with the prices. I've got no problem with that. I think we proved that with that 19 million increase. I don't think, the government siding with operators, I don't fully agree with that. And the government is an impartial when it comes to all the tenders, contracts and things like that. We want the best for both parties, for the hunting operator and for the conservancy. We need to ensure that, so we do not pick sides at all. I also, if I got the question right, or the comment on the conservancies, is just a middleman, and now you've got the hunting operator, you've got the conservancy, and then you've got the client. And I would support something like that, where the conservancy doesn't need a hunting operator, but can then sell directly to the international market. But before we do that, we need to really investigate that. And it was also in my presentation there on, the skills development, how to market, all those sort of things. I think if we it doesn't help just jumping into it now, and we're just going to get into trouble, and we're not going to do the right thing. So we need to investigate this properly. And I think it can definitely work. This has been discussed at ministerial level as well. Then, I think that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So thank you. Richard is going to be around still. So if the conservancy still want to engage and have more discussions, he will be around. Can I then hand over to the director, Kaure, just to respond.
Sorry, the question on the money to the TA. The ministry has got no problem with the money being paid to the TA for animals, because it's an allocation on the quota. But remember, we don't take those decisions as a ministry. We leave that up to the conservancy to allocate those animals, and you can obviously use the average prices in the contract, which is there for, or the prices that can be paid to the TA. So we fully endorse that. We've got no objection of that, but the conservancy needs to play an active role there. Thank you.
Thank you, We work as a team. Richard is my staff member. So whatever he says, I won't repeat because we work on these issues in tourism, joint ventures, and hunting. We work as a team. There has been quite a few questions, and Richard attended to most of them, I think. But I want to attend to the structures that are put in place. For all the 50 plus joint venture agreements, all these agreements have a template, and that template, as I indicated in my presentation, outlines what should be done by each party. The ministry has awarded the rights to the conservancy. In the same vein, there is something that is called a joint management board or committee. The Conservancy Management Committee, the operator, together with the support base, being ministry regional staff and our support partners, are supposed to meet on a quarterly basis. A lot of the problems are stemming from the fact that these meetings do not take place. And we have said time and again, the operator should be called by the Conservancy, and the Conservancy must equally call or invite the other partners, including any other stakeholder that is in the area, to discuss pertinent issues in relation to their operations. This does not happen. So, I don't think we should really blame each other. You don't call the meetings, we don't call the meetings, who's not doing what. In my presentation, I said the ministry has allocated or devolved these rights to the community. Why is it that we are willing to take the money, we are willing to go and buy the 4x4s that I was talking about, but we are failing to call these meetings? There's a responsibility there. Let us not run away from that responsibility. It is easy to say the ministry does not come, does not attend to this, does not attend to that. But call us. If you call me as the director and say, I have set up a meeting and X official from your office is not turning up, I will attend to it. But these meetings are not called to discuss these pertinent issues. Many of the questions that are raised are in relation to the relationship between the operator and the conservancy. And a lot of these issues can be discussed at that level. I just want to reiterate and remind ourselves of that obligation, because there is an obligation there. We are willing to walk the walk with you. Please take your responsibility seriously. My DED will attend to the big issue, but I wanted to talk to the point that was raised by the Honorable Governor around us seeking an exemption to continue what is seemingly not right. As a responsible ministry, we have assessed this situation. Out of these 50 plus joint ventures, one of them, the investment that has been made, minimum, would be about 30 million. Minimum, if not 40, if not 50 million. We have 50 plus of these things. We want to protect jobs. we equally want to protect that investment that was made. Many of these joint ventures are in various degrees of implementation. What may happen? Somebody may take somebody to court. It's a possibility. So we have sat with the Competitions Commission and we have assessed this situation. And as a result, we said, hang on. We need to protect these jobs that are at stake. We need to protect the revenue that is coming to those communal conservancies. Yes, it may not be the right thing to do, but we feel at this point where we are, if you consider for one moment, 30 million invested in a lodge, that tourism JV operator went to a bank and he went to source this money from a bank or somewhere else. Here we are, we say no, we need to open up all these 50 plus joint ventures and we need to renegotiate them. And renegotiating these joint ventures is not just an issue of, no, that clause is not correct. You should not be having the exclusive right to say no other operator should be coming in there or not. There are also some technical issues around what is understood to be an exclusive tourism area within the conservancy. The wildlife zone may be a big area, but my lodge may be sitting in one small corner of that area. At the moment, the way the agreements are reading, they are saying when there is a proposal from somebody else, they come to the conservancy and they say, we want to get involved in tourism in your area. There must be a consultation with the incumbent operator. It does not say he or she should just accept. It's a negotiation. But I have also said that the ministry has put itself in the shoes of just the regulator in this case. And this is what the Namibia Competitions Commission says. You, as the ministry, must be the competent authority to run this process. For somebody else to come in that area or not. It should not be that the incumbent operator should be the only one who should be consulted to say yes or no. So there are some technical aspects, and all of these considerations put together, we said we can't take the risk of opening up all these 50 plus JVs and start renegotiating, because there is a lot at risk. It's the investments, it's the jobs, it's the revenue to the communities that we are trying to protect. And hence our seeking of exemption at the moment. When any one of these new JVs come in, we will open up that discussion with the sector very soon to really start discussing the technical aspects in relation to the finding by the Namibia Competitions Commission. So I just wanted to put clarity to this issue, because it's not a very simple issue and there is a lot at stake. I think I will leave it at that for now, unless if I have left out some other things.
I'm just worried about time. Very worried about time. I would just like to have Ellie doing the last part of the questions that came from the concessions, and then I will have Kolka just do a summary on some of the questions that came from the honorables' concerns. Yeah. Ellie, can you?
Yes, Maxi, thank you very much. I'll try to sum up the questions or the responses. Some of them, of course, are similar. The non-performing concessions, have heard so much about comments on non-performing concessions, and that is one thing we have also acknowledged in our presentation, that we have got a number of concessions which have been awarded to communities, conservancies, associations, but they are not operational yet. There are different reasons, various reasons as to why these concessions are not yet operational. And that is why I've proposed that we digest and see and really determine what the issues are. There are some concessions which we know that they are not viable. Just last year, the Honorable Minister has replaced 2 non-viable concessions to conservancies in the Rongo region with a viable concession, which will soon be operational. So so the list has got some concessions which needs to be removed because of that. But we also accept that in some cases, the investors are actually sitting on very viable concessions, but they are not implementing. We are in the process of trying to help 2 conservancies to terminate the contracts. I'm not going to mention the name of the conservancies, but they know the 2 conservancies. We are at different stages, but there is one which is at a very advanced stage. But also, the problem is also that sometimes when we also approach conservancies and advise them that terminate with that investor because we are not going anywhere, sometimes they don't want to listen to us, and that is also unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and that is where we are. Okay, there was a specific question from the chair of Kwadi on the maintenance of some concession assets. I think I will just have to sit down with him. We go through the contract, because the contract is very clear as to who has that responsibility to maintain those concession assets. Mr. Dassop of the Topnar Association has mentioned a corridor, apparently, which has been awarded as a concession, but I think we also need to paint a full picture. The Topnar Association is a beneficiary to quite a number of concessions. And for us to single that one out only, I think it's HOMEP you're talking about, because we have got Quisep Delta as well, and Quisep Delta is a very big area, but really the Topnar community has got some other concessions, which I think are also worth mentioning just to create a full picture. The concession unit, the question, I think there was a question whether the concession unit was still in existence. Yes, it is still in existence. The concession unit was established in 2007 when we passed the policy on concessions, and that structure remains the same since 2007. So in 2007, we had just a handful of concessions, but now this same unit in size is managing a lot of concessions. Maybe as a resolution out of this meeting, we should also look at, maybe evaluating if that structure will really serve, will continue serving our needs as far as management of concessions are concerned. I think, okay, and then maybe just on one issue, there was an issue of legal representation. In the case of concession operators contract, we actually assist the conservancies via the Office of the Attorney General to come up with those contracts. So if we are having legal issues related to those contracts, the concession operators contract between the conservancies, associations, and their investors, we can actually help. We can ask the Office of the Attorney General to help us, because they were part of the drafting of that contract. And that contract will also have an effect on the contract, which is the head concession contract between the ministry and the conservancies and associations. The issue whether if the contract is terminated due to non-performance, whether the outstanding payments will be made. In line with the contract, those outstanding payments will still have to be settled by the investor. So let's just have a conversation. It's unfortunate that in some cases, like for example, in the case of Ipumbu ya Shirongo, there are 2 contracts. There's one contract for the there's a JV for the lodge, and then there's a concession operators contract for the traversing rights in Etosha. But let's talk and see how we can resolve the issue. Thank you very much.
So we are busy rounding up. The DD will quickly respond to the question that was raised by the Honorable, and then we will, I don't know whether we will break for lunch now. But we just continue. Okay, good. Yeah. But if you really feel, because some people are sickly people, if you really need to get something to eat, please feel free. There's things outside there that can help you until we get to lunch. So, Kolka? Is it not on?
Thank you very much. I want to first just clarify on the issue raised by the governor, Kunene region, on tourism operation in the conservancies. And I think this is, as the governor said, it's also coming from the discussion we had yesterday on the bill. And it's creating that impression, or not impression, but maybe this discussion on the bill, bringing that discussion. But unless we have different documents, not the current law, which is the Nature Conservation Ordinance, all the bill is prohibiting individuals to operate tourism activities in conservancies. There's no such prohibition. So both the ordinance, and although the ordinance is not very specific, but the bill is very, very specific and allows for that. What it's further just says is that there must be an arrangement between that individual or that company and the conservancy. And there's a reason for that. Because if you put up a lodge in a conservancy, what is the reason for tourists to come to that lodge? They are coming there because of culture, they are coming there because of the rhinos in Sesfontein or any conservancy, and whose rhinos are that? Whose animals are these? Because the conservancy are even protecting these animals. And therefore that individual will benefit from these animals. And therefore that arrangement, that contractual arrangement has to be there. But the individual company is allowed by Wildlife Bill to establish tourism establishment. So I think we should just say that clear. And allow me, Honorable Governor, I think yesterday you also advised very well on the processes of formulation of law, which was very helpful for us, because sometimes there's this, when we say, no, we can't give you the bill, some colleagues feel that we are too protective, we are too secretive, but we're just keeping to what you explained yesterday. But allow me just to read so that everyone is clear on this one, because then we'll not have this discussion on the bill. The bill says, and I'll just read 2 paragraphs on this specific issue. The bill says, a person who holds a valid right to land in terms of national land legislation in the conservancy, and who wishes to develop tourism facilities or provide tourism services within the conservancy must enter into an agreement with the conservancy. That includes a description of that tourism facility, a business plan for that tourism facility, and services being provided, a fee payment in kind contribution to the conservancy, compliance of the tourism facilities or services within the conservancy management and zonation plans. That means this specific one, I will read the second one. This specific one says a person who holds a valid right. That means, John, allow me to use you as an example. If John is from Sesfontein Conservancy, he has a valid right, he has a village in that conservancy, which he wants to turn into a lodge. And now he must speak to the national land legislation, which is now the Communal Land Reform Act. So he goes through that process, and he turns his village now, he has land lease or something, leasehold, that's the word. Now he has now that right, but that right is in a conservancy because he wants to operate tourism. And the minister here has allowed that community to establish that conservancy because that community has wildlife. But John has a village in that conservancy, but he also wants to use his village. So he can establish, but the minister has also allowed the community to look after the animals, then benefit from those animals. So John, as an individual, is establishing that lodge, but benefiting from the conservancy that the Minister of Environment has allowed the community. And therefore, John must allow the community as well to participate, and then he just goes into that contractual arrangement with them. This is what the bill is saying. And the bill has another section, which says a person, company, or other business entity wishing to develop or operate tourism facilities or services within a conservancy must enter into an agreement with the conservancy that includes but not limited to, again, those ones which I read. But this one is now not talking to John, who has a village there. It's now speaking to Kolga, who is from Zambezi region, but wants to establish a lodge in Sesfontein. So again, through the conservancy structure, or a company from anywhere else wants to go and establish that lodge. So there's still that right. But again, it has to, that one will now, the regulations will say, maybe it has to be advertised, or the conservancy has called for that company to come. So depending on the arrangement. But that provision is there, that anyone else can still do that. But the details on how you get there, those needs to be described in the regulations. But the emphasis is, the bill does not prohibit anyone to all a resident. And it speaks again to what Richard has been saying, because if we read another section, the bill says, if John in Sesfontein wants to conduct professional hunting in that conservancy, he's allowed by the bill. But there are just certain conditions he has to follow, including entering into an agreement with that conservancy. Because it is the conservancy that brings either hunting or tourism in that area. So that arrangement is there, and I really want to say this is what this is the bill approved by cabinet committee on legislation, which the legal drafters currently are working in terms of the language. And if I can share this one, there are even comments from the legal drafters in here, which I can't share. The Honorable Governor actually advised us yesterday, and it was clear to everyone. But I'm just making it clear that I don't know where the copies of those who are saying that is prohibited is coming from. But this is the right one, and get it from us. But before you say something, okay, I just wanted to touch also on the Honorable Governor Omusati. I think he made a good proposal, which has been there on this engagement at regional level. Previously, we used to, this is what was also confusing others yesterday. We used to have what was called Conservancy Chairpersons Forum. And we used to call a meeting like once in a year. We call people, everyone comes to Windhoek. And again, we realized that formula was not working, because we discussed that different regions, as you put it, different regions have different challenges. Then we changed it. We clustered, like the 4 northern regions. We had that one cluster, and we discussed issues there of emanating from the conservancies in those 4 regions. Then we had another cluster of the northeast. We had another cluster of the central, and another cluster of the southern regions. So that's a good point. I think which should be a resolution. I think we stopped because of the money issue, but money will come. So I want us to have that as a resolution, because it will help to get these issues that we discuss, but we are focused on a specific area, other than coming 87 conservancies coming in one area. So that is something I think we need to address. Honorable Governor, also Kunene region, you mentioned, yes, it's true that you can see the unhappiness is coming from the northwest. But yesterday you also said here that even the conservancies themselves, when they presented, they say there's an issue of mismanagement of funds. Even through this unhappiness, no one is, I mean, we are not getting there, you know. So I don't want to get into the details of this because you can turn your comment around and ask, but why is the unhappiness from there when we want to correct the situation? You know, so maybe it's something when we have a cluster discussion, we discuss that as well. So I just thought I clarify on those ones, particularly on the bill, because the bill is very protective, and if I can just conclude on that one, because this particular section on the law even protects John and that company that operates a tourism, because we've seen in other areas where there's fights. Where I come from, I'm from Salambala Conservancy. There's been an issue where the communities are saying, if we are not benefiting from that lodge which has been put by Ngondwana, we are going to plow next to it. We are going to put a kraal next to it. We are going to put a gambashu next to it. So if John does not sign a contract with the Conservancy, such statements will come. And even if it happens in my village, I'm not benefiting from that, I will go and put my gambashu there and see where tourists will like that. So the bill is actually protecting, not prohibiting. So I just thought I'd clarify that.
Oh. Okay.
I think, Honorable Minister, I should refer to you now. I think having heard the bill, really what is proposed in terms of conversations at regional level is needed. Because after having heard the reading of those sections, I actually understand where the people are coming from. But, like I said before, the conversation around that is misplaced at this stage. Because if Cabinet approved it, they approved each and every single part of that. You can't change it now. Then it must go back to Cabinet. But I think I hear where the concern is. Of course, as a legal person myself and as a person who has passed laws in Parliament, I think there's a legitimate problem. But I'll explain to you in person why I'm saying that.
Okay, so I would like to conclude this. What we're going to do next is we have people that are actually capturing, especially the action points, and I hope turning it into some form of resolutions that we can actually, before we conclude the meeting, that we have very clear resolutions in terms of where we want to go. So there are people that are doing that, so don't be worried that we are just having some discussions and we will not conclude with resolutions. We'll try and have those resolutions. But first, let's have the discussions so that we can move forward in terms of action points and resolutions. So can I ask that we applaud these people, the three people that created quite a lot of discussions around this, which was really needed in terms of really understanding some of the issues. So thank you so much, the three of you. I know what Ati said yesterday, when you stand here, it's really hot, and it is hot. Thank you. So we will continue. There's two more presentations before we get to lunch. Can I ask the two presenters, Frances Chase, and she's going to talk about the utilization, sorry? Okay, is there a mic? Yeah. So while they are coming, the minister is going to say something. Please, we don't have a break yet. We will have a break when we go to lunch. Huh? Okay. Minister, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, unfortunately, I could not sit around with you. I think there are so many demanding activities, but this morning I have an hour or so to spare, so that's why I came. I want to speak on one thing. If you are a layman like myself, that you sometimes want to understand. Very often we speak about investors, operators. It's just something that I want to explain also, which I felt during my time is also kind of misunderstood. When you are an investor, and remember there are two parts. The one who has got the right, the conservancies, and the investors. I have the right to allow others to do anything that can benefit me. And as an investor, I also come with my interest, and I want return on my investment. And one thing that we need to understand as well, when we talk about communal land, there's always no guarantee, because unlike in the commercial or towns where I know I will have a deed of some kind of, but in the communal, people sometimes are, even in your discussion, that where sometimes people even give up before they even start. It depends on the discussion, and the person will also think, will I have security? Because if I have to use my other properties to get a loan from the bank to build a lodge that will cost me 30 or 40,000, 40 millions, what guarantee do I have that I will not be phrased, and that is a waste investment? So that is why it's a negotiation. Very often you have to find that in the end, sometimes people take each other to court. And both interests are supposed to be served, because when you establish that lodge, it's now a JV lodge. It's between that specific conservancy and that investor. So, and the agreement is like it was established, which I need to service, and at the same time, we need to employ people that we need to pay, and at the same time, we need also to get some profit where we can benefit. And very often, those are only finalized, I think, about 20 years or 25 years, and then you are done with the loan, the whatever loan you took. I think we just also, especially for people who have got no financial background in details like me, but you need to understand. And what I also think is that very often we want to change when we have already signed a contract. And that is why our contracts, we also take it to legal, like Attorney General, to look at the contract and to see